Hello. Hello. Hey everybody, happy Monday, and you're very welcome to our new ATC IFR course. Over the next 10 weeks, give or take, well, we're going to be working on how do we speak to ATC, how do we understand what they're asking us to do, and we need to make sure that we do what they ask, pretty much. So, a bit of work went into this one now, do you know? So we have a couple of things to get started with. Everything's available over on our website, twotonemurphy.com. And if you put an L/IFR into the same address, well, you'll see everything that we're going to be working on, including our brand new ground school document. There are loads of stuff, do you know? So I want to welcome everyone in. If it's your first time here, you're most welcome. Discord brings you to our Discord. If you guys have any questions or want to know what's going on, well, that's where you ramble. Over the last few weeks, well, there's a lot of work on into this one, and it's in the manual anyway, but we have people here helping us tonight. We have Gibbo and we have Rambog Mord here, and they're going to be helping us out as we try and do something I don't believe has been done before. We can get Xbox and PC pilots in a live air traffic control environment. We have radar services that we can see every aircraft on Microsoft's servers. This is new, and it's kind of grand, do you know? So yes. If you've never tried online ATC before, if it was just something that you were saying to yourself, not for me.
Hello there.
Well, stick around. We'll give it a shot and see what happens. The objective here is we want everyone to be able to start, complete, and pass this course. That's the plan. So don't worry about your skill level or how much experience that you have, because, well, we're here to help. We're here to get everyone kind of introduced, started up, and up and running. That is the plan, right? So welcome in, as I said. There's a number of kind of things to do before we get ourselves set up. There's a lot of theory in this lesson, in today's session, which is part one. And as I said, I expect about 10 weeks as we kind of work our way through this. But with the ground school document, for a lot of the stuff I found online, there's course materials, there's, the Irish Aviation Authority, there's a whole load of places that I took the information, including Vatsim itself, and it's sprinkled of some real world experience as well. We're going to be reading through it. Now, we don't need to go line by line. The idea of the ground school document, well, it's a reference, right? So when you're flying along or when you're practicing, or even if you're just sitting on Vatsim having a listen in to what's going on, will you be able to follow down through this document? And it should make a bit of sense here now in a moment. So, who's here before we get started? Did everyone bring an apple? Is there something nice for you? I was going to wear my orange glasses. I couldn't find them. What a disaster. But sure, listen, all is well. Also, anyone who has registered for the course, you have been entered in a giveaway for the Navigraph 12-month subscription for, well done, Navigraph. So I'll be announcing the winner a little bit later on. And but we also have another promotion with thanks to Navigraph. And today, they announced me as an ambassador. Agaway. Me, your man who gets lost. So now I shouldn't get lost, right? So there's some cool stuff there. And we'll go through it all here now in a moment, you see, in a moment. I've music hidden over here, look. We'll try this one. Bit of tunage in the background. Do you know what I mean? So we'll edge in. I'll say hello to everyone. That's what I do. I say hello to everyone because, well, you've taken the trouble to tune in. And, well, I very, very much appreciate it. So we'll go quickly now. Englewood Online, good to see you. Black Eyes Gabe is here. Welcome aboard. Super Typhon, happy Monday to you. P.S. Mirandai, hello there. You're looking well. Mr. Zed Rider is here. Hermit Something, you're very welcome aboard. Viper Strike is in the house. Willow, how much? Good day to you, sir. Now, let me see. Robert J56. Good to see you. Quaggy UK. Welcome in, man. Spitfire RAF 100. You're very welcome aboard. Bell Bro is here along with Balut. ZG Walker is in the house. Gibbo Ireland is in the chat. How are you? Ozymandias, good day to you. Zythy, welcome aboard. Let me see. Sun Jammer is here. Good to see you, man. Airlock Doc has rambled in. Happy Monday. Let me see. Martel, good to see you. Patrick, welcome aboard. Quaggy, again. How are you? Two Quaggies are better than one. 21 Georgie, good to see you. Two Dogs is in the house. James747 James, you're very welcome aboard. Corn Wolf is here. B Carlo, you're very welcome in. Shy Lucy Meow, hello, good to see you. Dougal McTavish, the chairman, has rambled aboard. Good to see you, Dougal. Sterling 58 is here along with Akula. You're very welcome in, guys. Epic Fool, Asher. Epic Fool got his brand new control thingy Collective. He got a collective. It's on Discord. It looks amazing. Vince C, welcome aboard. Toto says, evening one and all. Class has started. Murphy will now take the register. Hands up when you hear your name is called. A virtual hands up. Present. Or, in Ireland we say unshaw. Unshaw. Here. But anyway, where are we at? Onboard Simulations, good to see you. Kozaki Flyers in the house. Welcome in, man. Now, I'm catching up here at 8 knots. I'm doing all right until I won't be. Corn Wolf, good to see you. Renoir. Happy Monday. Hope you're well. Strap21 is in the house. Old Veteran 965. Scott, it's good to see you, man. Larger Life. Hey, man. Good to see you. Now, let me see. 8 Bar Lee has subscribed to the channel for 35 months. Thank you very, very much indeed for all the support, my guy. That's amazing, isn't it? Now, Martel says to boldly go where no one has gone before. We're going to Leitrim. Well, sorta. Epic Phil says it's incredibly impressive sounding. Come a long way for the first Join FS and Euroscope we did. So we did that some years ago, trying to see, can we test multiplayer outside of Microsoft servers? Because at the time they were just plagued with issues, But yeah, we've come a long way, man. Let me see. Accidental Bert, good to see you. Welcome aboard. Ah, sure, listen now, this is kind of setting the tone for tonight, isn't it? I can play this on the spoons, with me toes. But anyway, the Bull Bandit, welcome in. Soaring AJ. AJH, man. Muse fan. He says, Patrick Stewart walks into a shop with a broken sewing machine, plonks it on the counter and says, make it so. Jesus. Thanks, Muse. Brilliant. Fantastic. That actually was good. Captain Sickbag is in the house. Good to see you. That wasn't Hummingbird, right? Paparazzi, welcome aboard. Naughty Gnome is here. Mickey Ozzy, good to see you. Zab Controller, welcome aboard. Let me see. Is this Greg? Hello, Greg. You're very welcome in. Captain Sickbag, it is great to see you. Eamon 1973 is in the house. Good to see you. DeBlaze, welcome in. Uris Games, happy Monday to you. Heli Pilot, good evening. Hope all is well. The Polar Bear is in the house. Medic Aviation has subscribed to Prime. Thank you very, very much indeed, my guy. Hope you're well. Rambog is there. He says, hello, tablet today as I ran out of screens. We should get you to start typing very fast. You know what I mean? Canoe Head 2 says, hello from daylight saving time. We'll wait for you. No, thank you very much. Oh yeah, didn't you lot change your clocks? We do that at the end of March. We spring forward and fall back. There's something you may have learned today already. Now, let me see. We're catching up here. Peter Janey. Greg Orr, good to see you. Iceman AMD, welcome aboard. Harry Ebb, good to see you. And then we have a load of people watching us on YouTube as well. You're very welcome in. John McLaughlin, good to see you. We have Delta Tango, hope all is well. NM Flyer is here. Let me see. Neil Streeter, good to see you, Neil. Hope all is well. Gary Duggan has rambled in. How are you, Gary? Iron Knob Airways, welcome aboard. And I think I've caught everyone. The lovely Kaharia has rambled in as well. Hello, Kaharia. Hope you're keeping well. More cowbell? Ah, come on. That was Hummingbird using my account. I'd never make a pun as awful as that. To be fair, Muse, that was good. Make it so. Right. Jeez, I did well. Quickest introduction in history. Waiting to see what happens next. So we'll stop that bit of music, right? And I'm going to move from this screen to somewhere else. Now, watch for the transition. Imagine if I fell over doing that. Do you know what I mean? Right, welcome in, friends. Here we are. And, we're here with the gorgeous A320 by Phoenix in our flagship colours of Firefly Air, our virtual airline, and this livery created by our one and only Gibbo Ireland. Absolutely gorgeous, right? Quick intro, delay, takeoff. Right, Joe? It'll be fine, lads. It'll be fine. So as I said, we have a number of things to get us started with this evening. So I'm going to, talk us through it. That's the easiest way to kind of do things. And I do know that Gibbo is in one of the ATC voice channels, the ATC Lounge, and he might have some, pointers and some tips for us in there as well. But I'll go through everything from start to finish. All these videos, all this content, it's all going to be recorded. There's no price to entry here. This is communities helping communities, people helping people. It's so awesome. Flying online with an online network. It's an incredible extension, if you like, or enhancement of your flight simulation experience. And yes, whilst we do have some of these AI, ATC things being presented in the sim, you can't beat real people, because it's only when you start hearing the different accents. Do you know what I mean? And people We're all human. We could make mistakes, and ATC have to react to that and control that. Do you know what I mean? Plus, there's weather to consider, dodging the weather, all this sort of jazz. So flying online with an ATC network may not be your exclusive flight simulation experience, but it's definitely something there that could enhance it. So we tried this. We did this. We completed this last year. We actually started off with a IFR ATC course. And well, I'm very biased because, well, I'm Irish and I live in Ireland and I love to see aircraft flying in the sim in and around Ireland. You're always proud of your home place. But I do have to give a shout out to the lads over on VAT Air. It's like the Irish contingent of controllers on the Vatsim network. They do a great job. And it would be great to see more traffic in the virtual Irish airspace because we have some stunning and very challenging airports here. We're on the ground at the moment in Shannon, but of course, you know, Dublin International being our main airport. Then you have Cork, Kerry, Donegal. You have some really nice ones in there. You even have Knock. They built an airport in Knock to get, was it a priest or a bishop? It was a priest or a cardinal. They built him a runway to get him out. You know, come on down here. Couldn't drive him, of course, but that's just how it works. Right, so anyway, we'll start at the beginning. It's always the best place to start. So we have, let me see, the website. So if you ramble over to twotonemurphy.com, you'll be faced with this, right? And this is our website. And it'll ask you, if you want to go where the Learn ATC series is, it'll ask you to register. Basically sign up to our website. There's no catch, there's no fees. You sign up. It just means then when we have updates, we can drop you an email, we can keep in contact, and we can say, hey, we're not going to spam you. You don't get mad emails. At least I don't think so. Unless, you know, someone's having a joke. Here's a picture of Murph when he was younger and had more darker coloured hair. But you know what I mean? So ramble over to the website, and once you register, you'll see it over here in the corner. You'll see a little, you can pick your little avatar and all this. It's very sophisticated. But we're going to go into this Learn ATC series. If you click on the top menu, it's going to bring us into a menu. We have two options. Hayden, welcome in. So we have the IFR AT series and we have the VFR AT series. If you go into the VFR AT series, that's where all the course material, the references, and all the videos are there from, I think it was 10 episodes we did that as well, right? But we're starting off with the IFR. So we're going to go into IFR. And here we have very fancy thumbnails with information, right? So the introduction, that's where we start. We go into the introduction page. And here is just an outline: who, what, when, where, how, why, all that, right? What is it? When is it? What do we need to get started? And so on and so on. Have a read of that. There's some optional bits and bobs there when it comes to, well, we'll get through it, right? But have a read of it, right? Should we be doing this now? By all means, if you'd like to, but you can do this in your own time as well. All this information is on our website. It's staying there. It's not going anywhere. So, you know, I don't need to read down through every single thing, but I will point at the important things that we'll need to know for this evening, right? So that's the first bit into the introduction. Now, next up, we have course registration. This is where you register for the course, right? And all you need to do, you click on it, and we're going to say, well, can you tell us what your Discord name is? That's important because we use Discord's audio channels or our voice channels, and that's how we do our voice communication. That's how we do all of that when we're doing our ATC. Next up, we're going to ask you for your Microsoft Flight Sim gamer tag. Now, if you want to be following along with this course, if you're on a different platform, you could be on X-Plane, you could be on P3D, whatever. You can leave that blank, or you can put in simply X-Plane or P3D or whatever, because the radar services are designed to work with just Microsoft Flight Sim. But if we get enough on the other networks, it's something we can look at as well. There's another program there we might be able to capture. We might. But the focus definitely is with Microsoft Flight Simulator because, well, we want to push for the Xbox pilots as well. And the last thing we want to say in here, what platform on Microsoft Flight Sim? Are you on the PC or are you on the Xbox? Once you click register, it'll come up and say you're registered. Then we check out the assignments page. After registration, we check here for the assignment details. This is important. This one you need to check out, right? So we will assign you with a call sign. All right. And the ICAO for our call signs is based on a virtual airline. They'll always start with FFA, Foxtrot Alpha, and the name is Firefly. So for example, this Egypt here, Two-Tone Murphy, well, he's Firefly 235. 235. So Firefly 235, that's my call sign, right? If we have a look down here at Musefan, he's Firefly 007. Stirred and shaked. But that, right, you get the idea. That's what we do here, all right? So when you register, we'll assign you with this unique call sign. Remember your call sign, it's yours. And that's who and what during this course you'll communicate with ATC. When you want to do your own flights on Vatsim or whatever it is, you can have all the fun you want because you can pick whatever call sign you want, provided you kind of stick to their terms and conditions and all this jazz. But for our course, that's the call sign you're going to get. It's going to start with FFA and then a number behind it. All right. So that's it. You'll also see on this then we have scheduled blocks. That'll happen up in another session. Tonight, our focus is going to be on IFR clearance, right? How do we plan our flight? How do we file it? And then how do we ask ATC for our clearance? Can we go to where we want to go, please? That's what we're doing tonight. In other lessons, we will have scheduled block times. Now, a block time or scheduled off block time, which is more accurate. An off block time is the time in which you're expected to have your aircraft fully ready, the tug is connected, and you're waiting now to be pushed off the block. Off the blocks. That's what I mean, yeah? Talks away and all that sort of stuff. Flipper Alloy, thank you very much indeed. 29 months. Cheers, man. So that's what all this is going to mean, all right? So we'll look at that some other day. Tonight, not important. Now, flight planning. We'll have a look at that later. The ground school document. This is very, very important. When you click on ground school document, well, we've built in its own PDF viewer online. Now you can print, you can do all whatever you want with the document, but if anyone didn't have, a PDF viewer, you can absolutely do it just through your website. Works on your phone, tablet, PC, it doesn't matter where, it works anywhere, right? So this is the course document. This is what we need. And you have a couple of options here on the left-hand side. If you click this, it'll give you a preview of the next page down the side. You can, zoom in, zoom out, whatever. You can even do a find in the document a certain word, all right? The first 99 pages of the document, right? The first 99 is the old course, the VF4. But the reason why I've left it in there is because there is a lot of information in here that's relevant to today. Some of the basic stuff. How do you connect your audio? What's vPilot or xPilot? How do you get those working? Where can you access your charts? Where can you do this? Where can you do that? So I left it, rather than taking it away, I left it in there, all right? So when you look down to the contents page, and again, you can do this all in your own time. If you go down to the content pages, it explains what everything is, what's an ATIS, what's a METAR, the different airspaces that we have, ground operations, and so on and so forth, right? How do you do your flight plan, equipment suffixes. There's a lot of good information in this, but you don't necessarily need it day to day. Keep scrolling down and you'll get to page 100, the IFR ATC course. And if you see the way my mouse is highlighting over these, everything here is linked. And a big thanks to the Limbics for helping me with this. Everything is linked. So if you click on instrument flight rules, well, it brings you now to our IFR ground school course, which is on page 100 onwards. All right. And in here, well, we talk about instrument flight rules. Right? IFR instrument flight rules, a set of regulations and procedures that govern how aircraft operate in conditions of reduced visibility, typically when flying through clouds, heavy rain, fog, or at nighttime. It allows pilots to navigate and control their aircraft solely by reference to instruments in the cockpit, rather than relying on visual references outside of the cockpit, on the ground essentially, because you can't see. That's the point, right? So rule number 1, and this will apply to every single lesson. Every single time you want to fly online, this is important. Charts. You need charts. Aeronautical charts. The airport, the SIDS, the stars, the taxiway, the approach, all your frequencies. You need to have charts. Think of them as your map. You can't go anywhere without your map because you can only follow the map. All right? We can only do that. So, we'll talk about charts in a while. The course introduction. That's what we're here for today. As we continue our ATC course, the plan is to take you flying from I see everything to I can't see a thing, but I've got this. That's what we're going to try to do. Some prior experience would come in handy, as the aim of the course is to focus on ATC communication whilst flying IFR. So we'll get to this a little bit later on, but there's kind of some prerequisites that you have a general understanding of flying IFR. The most important thing, you are competent and comfortable with the aircraft that you select, the aircraft that you choose. For example, yeah, I want to fly in a 747, or I want to fly in the Phoenix A320, which would be probably the most highest fidelity of an aircraft system simulation that we have. You need to know how it works, because if ATC give you an instruction, reduce speed by Lambo 200 knots, descend to flight level 90, you need to know how to do that in the aircraft, because if ATC ask you to do something and you can't do it, well, it creates a bit of an issue. They'll try and help, but if you can't fly the plane, they're limited in what they can do. Chances are you'll be asked to disconnect. And you don't want that. No one wants that experience, right? So make sure you know what the aircraft is. Now, we will fly a number of different aircraft throughout this course. We're starting off tonight and probably next week in our flagship, the A320, but then we'll transition to the 737, and there's a host of GA aircraft there as well, as we'll spend a little bit of time getting used to the different aircraft systems, anywhere from your flight management computer or your MacDo. And then we look at some of the GTN devices, even the GNS devices. There's a Collins unit fired in there for good effect as well. So it gives us a chance to kind of, oh yeah, that's the button I need to press in order to do this. All right. So we'll take it each day at a time. Aircraft selection is vital. So that's what we've just spoken about. Once we've mastered our knowledge and honed in our skills, it'll be time for our IFR check ride. At the very end of this course, the very, very end, when we're all happy enough, we've all progressed together. What's this?
Hello there.
Well, Mel Gibson said it, but I think Hal Moore said it. We will leave no man behind. That's the idea. I don't want to leave anyone behind. If there's anyone struggling, well, that's my objective, to try and help you out. All right?
Hello there.
So at the very, very end of this course, we'll arrange events that will do our very own check ride. And at the end of the course, when you pass, it's a big hoolie and we're all going out on the session. It'd be brilliant, right?
10-4, good buddy.
There's all things happening. God almighty. Thank you for the follow. Who's this? Flimsy Fire, thank you very much. Who's this? Real New. Thank you very much. And DC Viper, 3 years, man. Thank you very, very much indeed. Will you get a diploma? Yes, we'll give you a diploma, of course. Energizer, welcome in. If I missed anyone, just bear with me, but we'll get a chance to be having the app here now in a moment. So, when to fly IFR? It might seem like a very simple question. However, you should always weigh up your options when planning to fly in adverse weather conditions, or congested airspace, safety perhaps, commercial operations, long-distance flights, training, emergencies, terrain clearance, making IFR a very versatile tool for various scenarios. When we did the VFR, well, we needed to make sure we had good cloud separation. We weren't flying into the soup, as it were, right? You have to keep away from the clouds. You needed to have very good visibility because you needed to check for these visual reference points, these landmarks or POIs as we're flying around, because, well, that's how we navigate. IFR is completely different. We're following our charts, we're following our flight plan. It's, would you believe, it's actually not as complex as flying VFR. The reason being is when you're a VFR pilot, when you're flying in a VFR environment, well, you have to be aware of airspace, you have to be super sensitive to other aircraft, you need to know roughly where it is you're going based on the landmarks, you need to study the maps, the terrain, you have all of this to consider. With IFR, you need to know your aircraft and a general familiarization of the area, because, you're going to be flying on published routes in which, you're going to take this airway, you're going to fly to that waypoint, I want you at this speed and at that altitude. You're pretty much being told, this is how we're going to do it. Yeah, my hair is doing something weird. I don't know what's going on. It's fine. But anyway, some of the reasons why you might want to consider flying under instrument flight rules, you can have a read of them. Also, if you notice on this page, you'll see a contents tab on the bottom of every single page. If you click on contents, it brings you back up to the menu, which is super handy. So let's say, for example, we're through the course and you're flying on Vatsim yourself, and next thing, ATC asks you something kind of weird. Oh, I don't know what that is. Well, here's the beauty. He could say to you, something like a Q code. Do you ever hear of a Q code? Well, we can, let's go to Q codes. Click on Q codes. It was instituted by the Radio Telegraph Convention held in London back in 1912. But what is it? It explains what it is, and that's what they mean, and these are the Q codes. What is my magnetic bearing from you? So a controller might say, Firefly 235 QDR from whatever. Huh? What? I can add letters. No, I can add numbers, not letters. The idea here is the document is set up in such a way you can quickly jump to what it is you need to know. And it's not 100% complete. It's the best that I could do and the information that I could kind of, grab. But if you guys find more important stuff or more relevant stuff or you think it would be helpful, I'm all ears. Drop me a DM and let me know. All right. So we continue on. So flight planning. Well, we need to plan our flight. Just as we did with VFR, we need to plan it. We can't just say, right, I'm just going to start at the airport and we'll ramble off somewhere. You need to plan, well, where are you going? And we've a lot of things to consider when we want to plan our flight, right? We'll get through these now. Flight plans are a lot stricter when it comes to IFR and more precise. When it comes to IFR routes, it's mandatory to fill in the exact route you are planning to fly. Of course, ATC can provide you with shortcuts and other changes to your route, but in the planning phase of your flight, when filing your flight plan, the route must be the exact route you are about to fly. Unless, of course, you've done it wrong, but we'll go through all of that, what might happen, right? Did you turn Cockney there for a second? Listen, right, I'm like me dad. If you're talking from someone from Cork, during the conversation, we'll eventually change from this to kind of, do you know what I mean by? It happens, right? But anyway, so our IFR planning is important. We have a range of options when it comes to flight planning. We could look at some historical flights to see what the real world operators are doing, or indeed we can use SimBrief. And in SimBrief, we can actually review what some of the other real world operators are doing also. The below screen is a sample of an IFR flight from Shannon to Cork, and I based this on a Little Owl Cessna 172, but you get the idea. And you can have a look at this, you'll see, okay, right, there's information here, some of it will make sense to you straight away, you're going to say, hey, I know what that means. I don't know what that means. We'll go through all of this. Unlike VFR flying, we must have a full flight route and stick to it unless we're told otherwise. The route can include departures, known as SIDs, Standard Instrument Departure, or it can have an arrival known as a STAR, Standard Terminal Arrival something route, right? Along with airways and waypoints. It'll also give us our planned cruising altitude, but don't worry if the controller instructs you something different. Remember, ATC have their eye on you. They're monitoring your position, speed, and altitude. Unless they make a mistake asking you to climb to flight level, 270 and you're in a little Cessna, to which you would have to respond unable, well, pretty much what they say goes, all right? Vatsim controllers do an amazing job at mimicking the real-world ATC operations. It's good practice to check in on real-world radar services, such as Flight Radar 24. That'll give you a good idea what to expect in terms of the active runways, and it's also important to check out what's happening in the simulated world. I like SimAware. So to show you, right, briefly, I'm sure you've seen this before, right? But if I go to Flight Radar, this is pretty cool what we can do, right? So this is Flight Radar 24. And this is showing you real world aircraft. This is what's happening in the world today, right? There's a lot of them up there. So that's Flight Radar. If we go to SimAware, well, SimAware is showing us what's happening on Vatsim. Now, there are other networks. There's Pilot Edge, there's IVAO, there's POSCON, but we're looking at Vatsim, all right? And on this screen, we can identify there's areas of ATC, and there's also aircraft, okay? So that's what we do. We need to check in on these to see, well, what's going on. Now we look at our IFR flight plan. And for this course, we have developed our own flight planning area, if you like, that we're going to file our plans. However, when it comes to creating your flight plan, for this course, I'm going to be using SimBrief. It's free and it's one of the best, if not the best.
Hello there.
So the below shows an example of a new flight plan being created using SimBrief. The items highlighted in red must be entered and include your departure, arrival, and aircraft type. Now, every week we're going to be creating flight plans on SimBrief. Then we're going to be taking that information and putting it over into our website. So you're going to get used to creating flight plans. So don't worry if any of this is going over your head. We will be going through this a lot. All right. There's also several additional options. And out of all the different options, I find these to be the most important, because when you look at it, you're thinking, do I need to fill these out? I mean, it's asking me to. A lot of the stuff you don't. The highlighted ones, you must enter those. Your departure, your arrival, your aircraft type. That's important. And then, you know, if you're in an airliner, your ICAO code, or if it's just a normal flight, you know, general aviation or whatever, you can put that in there as well. The scheduled block time, or SBT, is defined as the time interval between scheduled gate departure at the origin airport and the scheduled gate arrival at the destination airport for a given flight. Your scheduled block time. Next, you'll have your departure and arrival runways. Sometimes SimBrief may not get this 100% correct. It all depends on the data that they're looking at, or Vatsim, on occasion, might be slightly behind what the real world is doing based on what the sim can actually replicate. A prime example here would be your flight plan is telling you to depart from runway 24 at Shannon, yet the METAR, or the ATIS, is telling you the active runway is 06. Well, there's no point planning a flight on 24 when you know that the controller is going to give you runway 26. Know what I mean? Care 85, 23 months. Thank you very, very much indeed. A prime example also, and this can happen. Let's say you want to fly out of Dublin, right? And recently in the real world, Dublin opened a extra runway, an additional runway. We went from like runway 10 and 28, 16 and 34 going that way. And they opened up, 28 right and 10 left. They opened up a new runway on the side of it, a parallel runway. As far as I know, the default scenery in Microsoft Flight Sim has not been updated yet. If you have a payware or a freeware custom made scenery, well, then you're laughing. You have the proper runways. But in some instances, if you're using older scenery or the stock scenery, I don't think they've included the new runway. That's something to be watchful of, because if Dublin are saying, departure out of 28 right, but you only have 28 left, well, that's when you need to speak to ATC. And a lot of the times the lads on VAT Air, if you don't have the scenery, that's quite a wide, we'll get you off on 28 left. You just need to tell them. So be prepared to let them know what your scenery is. Same thing can happen if you're using a default scenery. You suddenly get a taxiway instruction and your scenery doesn't have it. Your charts will have it, but your scenery doesn't. These are the things you want to be chatting with the ATC controller just to let them know. And there's a way to do that. I mean, yes, you can tell them over voice communication. There's a way, right? But there's another way. You can just drop them a little message. It's private. It's quiet. No one needs to know. Sorry, Chief, I don't have the scenery. Can I go the next one? And they'll figure it out. They're there to help. They're there to help. All right? Alternate airports. So from the VFR perspective, we never really had to look at an alternate airport. For an IFR flight plan, we must designate the alternate airport. What happens if we cannot make it to our destination? That could be due to weather, it could be traffic, congestion, whatever. We need to plan, well, where can we go if this one doesn't work, right? So you have to plan for that. So a lot of the time SimBrief will do like an automatic one, but sometimes it could send you further away than your actual flight is. So we need to, no, I don't need that airport. I can land at this airport. The runway length and, airport services are sufficient. And again, you'll get that data from your charts on Navigraph especially. That's where you'll put it in. And then we have some airspaces that would require us to validate our flight plan with Eurocontrol. So we'll talk about the Vatsim top-down system, but Eurocontrol is like, an overhead layer, right? And you might say, well, Eurocontrol, well, it makes sense. It's European based, right? And the idea being is they'll look after traffic at or above a certain altitude, and they try to keep you out of certain airspaces. So if you went ahead and planned a flight without verifying Eurocontrol and you happen to be flying in an area that they need to try and manage, it mightn't work. It mightn't work. All right. So I got to fly here. Grand. Let's make sure that it's validated to Eurocontrol. I'm going to show you how to do that after. All right. So this is what it all looks like when our flight plan is done. You can see the little map. This is all on SimBrief. We'll have a look at this and it'll give you some good information. And again, if you have Navigraph, you can integrate Navigraph with SimBrief. You get a lot of cool other features, not to mention the most up-to-date AIRAC data, which is important. Think of that as like, the maps version of your GPS. I have, Road Atlas 1976. That's no use to you. You need the latest and greatest, yeah? So then we see our flight plan. So our route, our pretend route that we've done, well, this is it here. We can see it. So it says Shannon, EINN, runway 24. We can see that it's entered in a departure, the Curram 3 Bravo. And remember your phraseology and your voice communication. When you see single letters, we must apply the phonetic alphabet. If you don't know what the phonetic alphabet is, I'm glad you asked, click on contents, right? And you scroll to where it says phonetic alphabet. If you can't find it, click on the search and we type in phonetic. Phonetic alphabet. There she is, there for all to see, the phonetic alphabet, and we give you a full rundown. Delta Oscar Yankee Oscar Uniform, Kilo November Oscar Whiskey, Whiskey Hotel Alpha Tango, India Mike Echo Alpha November. Do you know what I mean, right? And there's a couple of things when it comes to the phonetic alphabet, right? You'll see the character. You'll see it's Morse code. That's an identifier. If you were flying to a VOR station, for example, and you want to tune it in, well, Morse code is important. And there's a section here on Morse code. The telephony, alpha, and how it's pronounced, alpha. You have to say it's slightly different because this is how we try and kind of, how do we work the problem of different accents, for example, right? And you might say, what do you mean by accents? Go back to the Second World War and they had these passwords or challenge words. You know what I mean? The Allies would say thunder flash. The reason why they chose thunder flash, if a German person were to say thunder, it would sound like thunder. If they were to say flash, it would sound like flosh. If you're on the radio, if you're on ATC and you have the noise of your aircraft and all the systems, you can't make out what someone is saying. This is the idea. You use this to get by it, right? And you might say, right, Lima. L is for Lima. You'll see where it says Lima, but how do you say it? It's Lima. Lima. You get the idea, all right? So that's what that does. Nothing too fancy. It just explains what it is that we're doing, right? That we're doing. Right, so back to my contents. Where was I? Look, I'm just amazed by this. But anyway, we keep her lit. So we're down here. So our route is, Shannon runway 24 on the Curram 3 Bravo departure. Our waypoint here is going to be Curram. Then we have an arrival, the Curram 1 Hotel arrival into Cork. I know this is Cork. The 4-letter tends to be the ICAO code. That's the airport code, yeah, 25. So our flight will depart Shannon, runway 24. We're on the Curram 3 Bravo departure, and we're going to be doing arrival, we plan, into Cork on runway 25 on the Curram 1 Hotel. Now, when it comes to your arrivals, the departure is fairly straightforward. Your arrivals might change. They might change. So it's always good to plan it, but have a look at some of the other options in case it changes. What if the wind changes mid-flight? Now, you can kind of minimize these things from happening. That's when you look at, your METAR information. You look at your TAF, your terminal area forecast, basically the weather forecast of that aerodrome or facility. Right, so you can kind of, it's going to change. So you can kind of plan that into your flight. If you're doing quite short distances, not too much to worry about. But if you're planning a long haul flight, if you're going to do something like cross the pond, well, your departure airport, 8 hours, in 8 hours time or 6 hours time, your arrival airport weather could be a lot different than what you're looking at now. So you just have to take that on board. All right. So what we're looking at here are all the different bits and bobs when it comes to our departure. And I wrote it down here. We can see Shannon 24, runway, the Curram 3 Bravo, the Curram. So I've broken it down there so you can understand what we're looking at. All right, that's the idea. So fuel and weight planning. I'm not going to get too much into this now, but this is here for your reference. To understand, you need to make sure you have sufficient fuel. Now, this can confuse people. What's my block fuel? I will just put in this, load the aircraft to what my flight plan needs, which a lot of the time is fine. But if you get that wrong, you could run out of fuel. Now, It depends on how real or how strict you wish to be when it comes to your flying. You could turn around and say, no, that's it. If I run out of fuel, that's it. I'm gone. Or you could have a little hotkey, whatever it is going to be, refuel me aircraft like that. It's a simulator. We have these controls over it. But it's interesting and, it's important to know, well, where do we get our fuel from? We talk about fuel efficiency, your cost indexing. What the hell does a cost index mean? Derating. Why do you want to derate the engine? There's all these things to be aware of. They're not necessarily going to impact your day to day, but at least you'll know what they're talking about. All right. So the good news is SimBrief looks after all your fuel planning, which is great. So you can see your trip fuel. If we have a look here, see this cont 5%, right? What they mean by that, that's your continuity fuel or contingency fuel. And I think 5% is the minimum by ICAO standards. You must have a contingency of an additional 5% of fuel, depending on what you're flying. Usually kind of 15, 20 minutes, right? Your final reserve, you need fuel for your alternate airport. Your taxi fuel, you need to plan how much fuel you need to use. Airline pilots go through this. This is their bread and butter. A lot of the time, their company, their ground operations or the flight planning, they'll have it sorted or sussed out for them. And as you may have thought, your fuel requirements change depending on the airport, how busy it is, and the weather. All right, it depends. Weight, all that kind of jazz. How many passengers are we taking? We're taking 6 people, but we don't need all this fuel. Well, we're taking, 60 people with baggage. We're going to need more fuel. All right, you get the idea. But it just explains what it actually is. All right, what it actually is. So where are we at now? Okay, I think we're going good. So far, so good. Moving on. I've deciphered what these little things mean. ZFW. That's your zero fuel weight. What does the aircraft weigh without fuel? LAW, estimated landing weight. TOW, estimated takeoff weight. So on and so forth. It's all there for you to have a read of. All right. If anyone has any issue getting access to where this file is, let me know. We'll fix it. As I said, you just need to be registered on the site and you're good to go. All right. And it's there for you. This is version 7.1. Next week will be version 7.2. The reason why I have different versions, I'll probably make a spelling mistake, but more importantly, I'm going to be adding lessons in week by week. All right. So the bones of this will remain the same. So the next section now, we talk about IFR revision. Now, I'm not here to teach you how to necessarily fly by instrument flight rules. There's quite a bit to do. I mean, the normal progression of a pilot, you'll start off as a student pilot. You'll progress to doing your private pilot license, your PPL. Then you'll go to your instrument rating or nighttime flying, depending on the country, what one they'll do first. You could be a VFR pilot with a night certificate, right? You can fly at nighttime, for example. But a lot of the time they want you instrument rated. Instrument rating comes first, and then you can go nighttime flying. So when you want to learn all about instrument rating and how do you actually fly just by using your instruments, I've put in some of the basic stuff here to help you along, but I highly recommend you practice this in the sim. Highly recommend you practice this in the sim. All right. So distance to height. This rule of thumb, it's like your trusty Swiss Army knife. Super handy for various situations, whether you're planning when to start your descent from a high cruising altitude, or even checking how far you are from a beacon. And it's different ways how you do it. In this case, if you're 15 nautical miles away from your landing, using the rule, you calculate 15, that's your distance, multiplied by 3, which equals 45. Your target altitude is 4,500 feet. So have a read through these, practice them in your flight, say, hey, I'm going to try this. You can name them if you like. Just, spend a little bit of time on them. They are handy, all right? So these are all the little handy kind of stuff. This part here, IFR revision, an ADF, an NDB, a VOR, DME, NPA, AJH. I put the AJH in there for me. That's AJ's as how you. But the idea behind this is it's to refresh us on what our instruments inside the aircraft actually are. An ADF, an automatic direction finder. An NDB, non-directional beacon. And there's a summary here of what it is and how does it work. So if there's any of these that you're kind of half struggling on, right? Well, read this. It'll tell you what they are and how do you make them work. All you need to make sure is your aircraft is fitted with that equipment. Most general aviation aircraft are, right? The likes of the Comanche, the likes of, the TBM has it, the FSR has it, any of the Black Square aircraft have it, Just Flight have it. Tons of aircraft have all this equipment built in. These are different ways in which you can navigate just by using your instruments. It's pretty cool. It is pretty cool. Like the first time when you're stuck in IMC, you're stuck in the clouds, you can't see anything, and you're just flying by the needles on your instruments, and next thing you get exactly where it is you were supposed to. It's an awesome feeling. You've won the day, as it were.
Time to pull the big switch, good buddy.
There's things happening. Empire, thank you very much for the raid, my dude. Welcome in, lads. So we're chatting here just about the different instruments and what they do, how do they work, and there's quite a few here, but again, this is reference. If you're flying along and you're thinking, oh, I'm going to do, a DME arc. What's a DME arc? Well, DME stands for distance measuring equipment. An arc, well, think of an arc. Well, it's an arc. Okay. So if you have, if you're doing a DME arc of a runway, that means you want to maintain a certain distance. Let's call it 5 miles, but you want to arc your way in. So as your aircraft turns, you're making sure that your distance doesn't increase or decrease. You're keeping that arc. You're maintaining the 5 miles. But there are other things to consider. What's the wind doing and so on and so forth. But this explains it, right? This explains it. Right. Now, before we go further, this is section 12. This is kind of the meat and veg of what we're doing, the IFR phraseology. We're just going to ramble back to the website because there's a couple of handy things I've dropped in here for us, right? First up, we're going to have a look at the NOTAMs. Now, a NOTAM, or NOTAM, it's an acronym. It basically means Notice to Airmen. That's what it means, Notice to Airman or Airmen. So go into our NOTAMs, and in here, I have listed a number of different NOTAMs. Have a read of these and check back in them regularly. There's a NOTAM, and it'll give its effective date, so you need to watch that, and its duration, if there is a duration. And this simulates what goes on when you read your charts. NOTAMs at airports could be, taxiway alpha is closed, be careful of the crane operating behind, so on and so on. Right, you get the idea. Notice to air missions. Edson, good to see you, man. Good to see you. So where the NOTAMs are, there's information here that's important. So this is all about our course, right? The first NOTAM. The second one, aircraft proficiency refreshment. Basically, keep practicing on your aircraft. Learn them. Figure out what they can do, how to get the FMS or the MACD up and running. Basically, how do you become proficient with the aircraft? The FAA definition is notice to air mission. Did they change that? Dublin's NOTAMs are a fine book. God, they are. So you'll have differences as well between FAA, which is the Federal Aviation Authority, and the ICAO or EASA. You'll have some of the differences. So the FAA changed it. Was that them being PC about life? It could have been. But yeah, notice to airmen, it was back in the day of the wars, right? Airmen, now hear this. But you get the idea. It's good. It's a good point that you brought it up because we will have some changes. The Europeans will say things a little bit different than the Americans. The Americans will probably be looking on going, what the hell did you say that for? And we'd be like, don't you do this? Right, we'll get through that. But anyway, that's the aircraft proficiency. Tips for flying on the Vatsim network. Have a read at this because, well, this is tips for when you want to fly. Your pre-flight, your aircraft selection. Practice ATC communications when you're offline. Just fly the route. Constantly fly the route you want to do on Vatsim. To practice, fly the route a couple of times and use our course manual to figure out what the ATC will be talking to you about, right? Listen to some real-world ATC when you're flying offline. When you've got some private time and you just want to go for a flight and your favourite streamer isn't on, listen to live ATC. It's amazing just by listening to it. I mean, you can tune in on your phone, listen to it in the car. It's amazing when you start listening to real ATC, you'll start picking up you'll pick up the flow of it. Right, how it all sounds, right? Hayden, thank you very much indeed for the gifted sub. Cheers, man. And then the last one here is, attend Vatsim events as observer. So there's a setting, which I'll show you later on or next week. We'll show today. You can actually put a setting into your vPilot client in which you can join the network. You can hop onto the Vatsim network, but you're an observer. You're not taking part. You're just there to listen in. It's highly advantageous to do that. All right. The next NOTAM is all to do with the course registration. How does one register. We've spoken about it already, but if you're stuck, 'tis there in plain text. All right. Then we have the flight plan submission. We're going to be going through this now shortly, and we're going to show you. We're going to show you how this works. Dowler, thank you very much indeed. Cheers, Matt. 9 months. Thank you very, very much indeed. Very kind of you. Thank you, lads, for all the support. You're only brilliant. So that explains that. Now, we do have news because, well, Navigraph, the great bunch of Navigraph, well, they have sponsored a giveaway for one lucky registrant of the course. That's the equivalent now of someone saying, listen, no, we're taking a break. We're going for biscuits. Thank you very much indeed. Brilliant. Cold Nebo, you're very good. Thank you very much indeed, lads. Notice the idiots. You call them noteds. Brilliant. Right, so Navigraph have been absolutely splendid by sponsoring a giveaway, and we have the winner's name here. I'll announce it in a little bit, and basically that person will win, or has won, or will win, if you press the draw. They'll win the 12-month subscription. However, we also have an exclusive Navigraph promotion. So, effective right now, up until March 25th, Navigraph are offering new subscribers 1 free month of Navigraph, right? The code can be accessed solely through the provided link, which is there. It's also on Twitch. If you scroll down, you'll see Navigraph give you information there. The offer is valid indefinitely between March 11th and 25th. It grants you 1 free month when purchasing a subscription. So on Navigraph, you can pay per month or you can pay for the full year. Right? You can pay for the full year. Once you click on that promotion link, Navigraph will give you a free month. They're just going to give you a free month because of this course. Because of us, it's a free month. There's something there for free. I highly, highly recommend Navigraph. Not because, you know, I'm an ambassador. When Navigraph came out with version 8, I think it was, charts version 8, they included VFR. And for the first time, I think for a lot of people, we were able to get accurate flight tracking because we can see a moving map, we could see the charts, we could see what was happening. Then they added in, you know, the FAA sectionals. They added in some awesome stuff, and that really enhanced our flight simulation. I'll put it this way, lads. I was able to park, what's it called? ForeFlight. I was using ForeFlight. Now, granted, I used it in the real world, but ForeFlight is a couple of $100 a year. Hundreds. Navigraph has everything that I need from the flight simulation perspective. Navigraph is more than enough than I need. So I highly recommend it. If, however, you can't access Navigraph for whatever reason, it doesn't matter, I'll point you in the direction where you can access free charts. You can get charts for free as well. So don't feel like you're really missing out. I just highly, highly recommend Navigraph. It just works. It's incredible, right? And I think anyone here who uses it, but you guys know how good it is. I don't need to sell you the product. You know how good it is, right? And it's pretty cool, right? So this promotion is up for new subscribers. You know, sign up to Navigraph and you get this exclusive deal. Sign up to an unlimited monthly or yearly subscription and receive an extra month for free. That's the promotion, and a massive thanks to Navigraph for enabling this. The promotion runs from today, March 11, until March 25. All right? So that's where it is. So these are the notums, right? Very important. Now, what else do we have? The other channels in here, previous course videos, they'll get populated in due course. Our communications, we'll get onto all the communications a little bit later on. But as I said, we're going to be using Discord for our voice communications. Discord is accessible through PC and Xbox and your phone and tablet or whatever else. All right. So we'll go through all of that. The checklists, there are checklists available, right? And a big shout out here to JD's, right? JD, a content creator based in Germany, has his own YouTube channel. There's the link, JD Gaming. But JD has created some of, if not the very best, aircraft checklists for Microsoft Flight Simulator. They are absolutely incredible and they are all for free, right? For example, if we want to look at the, we'll have a look here, right? The A320 Phoenix. This is going to bring us over to flightsim.to, and in here, you'll see JD's checklists. And these are incredible, lads. They're checklists. You can print them out. You can, put the lamination on them. And he updates them quite regularly. But you can see by it, There's flows to this. He explains where the buttons or switches are located because he maps out each and every cockpit. These are excellent. Highly, highly recommend you use these. They'll help you how you figure out the MACD or the FMS. They'll explain to you how you properly set up your aircraft, how, you know, what systems should be running. There's nothing worse. I crashed the friggin', what was it? I crashed the Mad Dog on takeoff one day. Day that'll live in infamy. Sometimes I still scream myself to sleep, but it was on takeoff, right? I said, yeah, I got this. Yeah, you know, full throttle, Mart flap. What was that? Full power. Yeah. Your one was given out to me and I crashed on takeoff. And I realized I turned off the pneumatic pumps. A rookie mistake. But had I have followed the checklist, I wouldn't have encountered that problem. Now, could you imagine the extreme level of Egypt had I have done that on Vatsim? The controller would take a quiet minute to dry his eyes after laughing so hard to say, please disconnect, right? So, checklists. Look at the checklists, all right? So, that's from JD. They're all linked here on our website. And I've picked out a handful of the aircraft I think would be most helpful during this course. There's general aviation. We have the airliners. We even threw in an ATR, the H-Jet, so on and so forth. There's a lot of good stuff here. All right. And if you feel compelled to say a thank you to JD, or should buy the guy a coffee, do subscribe to his YouTube channel as well. Now, we also, Ismisha, this fella, right? I worked on a spreadsheet. So we have the pre-flight checklist, the TTM pre-flight checklist. If you want to have a look at this, here's something I made earlier, right? Check for spelling mistakes now, right? But anyway, this one here, it's our online ATC checklist. Now, we also have an IFR checklist. That's different, right? Those of you who have it, have it. Those of you who want it, well, I'll show you how to get it. Anyway, this one here, before you start your simulator, make sure you register for the session. Your slot time is confirmed. Your call sign is confirmed. Update your AirAC if you have it. Your shader cache has been cleared. You've updated your sim and your scenery. Your aircraft is already there, good to go. Your model matching is active, right? All these checks before you go flying. There's nothing worse. You're in the sim. It's after taking 26 years to load up. I don't have the livery. It can happen, right? So I've made a quick checklist. Just as quick, didn't do this, right? Then it comes to your checklist for your flight planning. Have you logged in with Navigraph? Are you in with SimBrief? Do you have Volanta on or LRM, right? That's how we track and record and review our flights. Do you have a notebook and pen? Highly important. ATC IFR ground school document. Do you have it open? Do you have your charts and your radio frequencies? Then we have your flight simulator settings. Verify your sim settings, as in the data. Do you have damage turned off? Is your audio set up right? You have your multiplayer settings, all players, what server. The airport, make sure you start or spawn at a parking or a stand location, never on the runway. Do that in your own time, but when you're on Vatsim or on this course, never spawn on an active runway. Are you using live time and live weather? Your pre-flight checks, just like what we've shown you with JD stuff. Your connection to Discord audio, making sure that the ATC lounge is active and you can hear it and ATIS is up and running. And your aircraft load and fuel. And then the last one are your in-flight checks. Your transponder. Do you have it set to mode C on takeoff so you're now, being displayed on radar correctly? Your radio. Do you have the right frequencies tuned in? Your GPS, your FMC, your MACD, your onboard navigation, your computer, the gadget that's going to plan or manage your plan of where you're going. Flight tracking. Are you using Navigraph? Maybe a little nav map, Volanta. I put in radio a second time. That's not a mistake at all. I meant to put that in there because, well, you need to make sure you have your radio frequencies dialed in. There's nothing worse. You're getting handed over to the next station and you're like, oh, mother of Janie, right, it takes ages. So we're going to learn how to do that a little bit more efficiently, which keeps you ahead. You'll often hear real world pilots say, stay ahead of the aircraft. A simple procedure could be, on your radio stack, you have COM 1, COM 2.
That's a big 10-4, good buddy.
You might even have COM 3 and COM 4, depending on how many radios. Prime example, I was flying down to Shannon yesterday, right? COM 1 was tuned to Shannon Tower. COM 2 I was monitoring COM 2, as in I could just listen to the audio and it was tuned into the ATIS, meaning I'm listening to two different frequencies, but I only transmit on one. We'll show you how to do all these things. So anyway, that's all there for you. Make sure you grab it. It's a checklist. You can print it off or you can download it. Do what you wish. Do be sure you read through it before your flights. It'll limit or reduce the amount of times you say, bother, I have to reinstall or I have to do something. You know what I mean? So, where are we at now? Are we catching up? We're doing well. I'm just tuning in now. Is this specific to EU or generic? It's quite generic. When it comes to the voice procedure, it's quite specific to the EU, to ICAO. However, I do go through some of the changes a little bit later on in our document. All right. So they're the checklists. So we continue. Now we get into the Vatsim phraseology. Well, IFR phraseology, and in particular, the Vatsim top-down system. Again, I highly recommend you guys have a read of this, but the important thing is be aware of how it works. What do we mean by a top-down system? Well, unlike the real world, not all controllers are always online. To extend the services provided by controllers, Vatsim operate a top-down controlling strategy. Okay? This means that a controller may assume the duties of another controller below their position, not above, below, right? If approach was online, so approach, and if we have a look, well, where's approach in this? Oh, he's up here, look, he's near the top, right? Well, that means approach can take over tower, ground, or delivery. He can take over all of those frequencies, or all of those stations, but just stay on his frequency, because that's his frequency, okay? It'll make sense when you start seeing it. If only ground was on, there's no one above the ground station, right? That means your ATC is limited to the ground controller. That's it. Expect your clearance and your taxi. That's it. That's it. He can't give you your vectors. He can't give you, clearance. He can't give you any of that. He can't give you takeoff clearance. He can't give you any of that jazz. He's just controlling the ground station. You'll see it in action. We'll simulate it ourselves during this course. But this is very, very important because it allows you, or it informs you as the pilot flying, who are you supposed to be talking to? That's vital, all right? But, have a read down through it. There's a lot of notes there. You'll be fine, but just read it. Be aware of it. It's important, all right? Now, the controller airspace and the responsibilities for each station, I've listed them all here, just in case there's any doubt. Well, ground is on. Does that mean I can get me takeoff clearance? Have a read through these, okay? The tower is there. Grand. Will he give me, vectors when I'm 200 miles away? Have a read down through them. They'll explain what each of these stations are responsible for. And there's an important thing to consider. The view that some of these controllers have, it's based on their scope. Their scope will only show them their sector, their station. So for example, if you're on the ground frequency and you're, 20 miles away, he may not see you on his scope. That's important. So they can't see you, so they can't control you. All right? All right. Wake turbulence. I'm not going to dive into this now because we're still waiting on some factors to come into the sim. Some ATC networks provide it, some simulators provide it, but you need to be aware of what a wake turbulence is. Now, I've explained what a wake turbulence is, right? Many of us flight sim enthusiasts may not be familiar with it. Wake turbulence refers to potentially hazardous turbulence that occurs in the wake of an aircraft during flight, right? It's caused usually by wingtip vortices. These vortices are significant because they dissipate relatively slowly and can exert a notable rotational influence on any aircraft encountering them for several minutes after they are generated. You may have heard something like this before. Caution, wake turbulence, right? Or caution, the 747 on departure. You'll also may have heard Shamrock 2, or whatever the airline call sign is, right? Let's call it Shamrock 123 heavy. Huh? What do you mean heavy? I'm not heavy, right? Heavy. The pilot is announcing the weight turbulence category. It's important, right? So I've explained what it is here and when do you need to report it, okay? So it shows you how the thing works in the real world, right? But these are the 4 different codes we need to be aware of. You don't need to say, Firefly 235M or medium. You don't need to. It's only the heavy or the super categories you need to call. You need to let them know that. Heavy would be any aircraft weighing more than 300,000 pounds, something like a 747, right? Or, a heavy cargo aircraft, 76, whatever. It's a heavy category of aircraft over 300,000 pounds. The super, or the code J, is reserved only for the Airbus A380, right? So you might hear Emirates 26 Yankee Yankee Super. Jeez, that's a big bird, right? That's what you do there. When to report wake turbulence, I've explained here now. During your flight, particularly if your aircraft falls into heavy or super, it's advisable to inform ATC of your wake turbulence category only during your initial contact. You don't need to say it after every single verse. The first time you speak to that controller. If they, hand you over to another controller, well then, on the initial contact, you'll say it to them as well. All right? Okay, we get the idea. Heavy is applied to the 747s. J super, at the moment, as far as I know, it's only A380. All right? Now, uncontrolled airports when we fly in IFR. So just like VFR, well, what do we do if there's no controller online? I mean, do we stay on the network? Do we disconnect from the network? We stay on the network. You stay on the network. But it's almost like a kind of a mini role-playing game where you assume a little bit of your own air traffic control. The important thing here is, well, you need to announce what you're doing. Say intentions, to use the popular name of the AI stuff. You got to make your intentions clear to other pilots. Okay? I wrote down through it what you do on like departing. So an example would be, if I'm at an airport, if I'm in Shannon, right, and there's no ATC on Vatsim, there's just nothing there, but I'm connected to Vatsim and there's other aircraft in the area, well, I'll jump on the Unicom radio. Don't worry about CTAF that they're trialing in America. We're just focusing on Unicom. I'll 122.8 and I'll say the following. And I've scripted everything that's said here. So anyway, so if I'm now on this stand, right, and I'm ready for a pushback and I want to start my engines, I'll say the following. See if this button works, it'd be brilliant. Shannon traffic, Firefly 235, Boeing 737, startup and pushback stand 30, facing south, Shannon traffic. Did that work, lads? Could you hear me in a different funny voice? If it did, I'm brilliant. If it didn't, I'm an idiot. But anyway, it worked, did it? I don't know, did it work? Anyway, what we're saying here, Shannon traffic. Shannon traffic, you're alerting this vicinity that you're in. Always start and end with the area or vicinity name. Because if you're in mid-sentence and then someone else jumps on frequency, when you say the frequency or the area or the facility name at the start and the end, they'll hear, oh, that's Shannon. Oh, Jesus, that's important, right? They kind of worked this out recently on Vatsim, but let's say if we're in Shannon, if I'm in Kerry, it's not terribly far away, I might hear this pilot speak, right? And then I'm saying, oh, hang on, is he here? So when you say Shannon traffic or Dublin traffic or whatever the traffic area is, always say it at the start and at the end, all right? A little bit later on then, when I'm going to be taking off, wait till you hear this, right? Shannon traffic, Firefly 235 is taking off runway 6 via the Curra 3 Alpha departure, Shannon traffic. Again, I'm telling them, hey, I'm Firefly 235 or I'm a 73, it doesn't matter. Who am I? I'm taking off on this runway. I'm heading out on the Curra 3 Alpha departure, Shannon traffic. You get the idea, all right? You get the idea. What do you say when you're en route, when you're flying? You don't have controllers to talk to yet, but what do you need to say? Well, you might need to jump on if you need to do something outside of your normal cruising altitude. You do have, what's the word I'm looking for? You do have the option to identify other aircraft, ADS-B, or you have your terrain and traffic alert. You have your traffic and radar alert. So your aircraft will actually detect, hey, traffic. It'll start shouting at you, right? If you need to do with something, be it, you want to get out of weather, for example, right? Or you're going to increase your cruise speed or your cruise altitude, or you need to descend, doesn't matter. All you need to do, you jump on, and I'll give you the idea here, right? So you're the pilot, so your call sign, it's in red. Whatever's in red, well, you change it yourself, right? TCAS, that's the one. Whatever's in red, you change it. So your call sign, so for me, Firefly 235, inbound, the waypoint, I'm just going to make one up, Curry, at flight level 14, turning right or turning left, heading 230, flying direct to chips due to weather. But the idea is you're telling other people in the area what you're doing. Again, say your intentions. You don't have indicators on the plane. Yeah, your man ahead is turning left. Quick, overtake him. We don't have that. So you need to be communicating around you. The arrival phase is the most complex because you're constantly talking, because you have aircraft on the ground who wants to take off. You've other aircraft in the vicinity who want to land. And then you've other aircraft who might be transiting the airspace. You need to be relatively active when it comes to your arrival. So it's complex, but again, you're in an offline environment, so you just practice it. So in this one, straight up. Cork traffic, Firefly 235, Boeing 737, inbound chips, descending to altitude 5,000 feet from flight level 140, Cork traffic. You're explaining to them what it is you're doing. I'm heading. Is that too loud, by the way? If that's uncomfortable for you, let me know and I'll stop doing it. But anyway, you're just letting other people in the vicinity know what's going on. If I'm flying like Epic Fool in my little chopper, right, the next thing, Jesus, who's this fella? There's a Boeing coming in here. I better get out of his way. That's the idea, right? Or you might have Gibble coming on in a Concorde. Get out of the way. It's the idea you have. You need to keep your voice communication fairly active during the arrival phase. Okay. Now, briefly, we're not going to touch it tonight. Holding. When airspace becomes congested, ATC might direct us to enter a hold. We'll talk about that some other day, but just be aware of it. Missed approaches and a go around. We've done it before. How do you do a go around? Well, again, I've explained it here from an IFR procedure. These are always published. By the way, your charts will actually tell you. I've put an example here, for example, on Shannon, right? This is the ILS for runway 06 at Shannon. And looking at the chart, we can zoom in here and say, oh, look, missed approach. Climb straight ahead to November 005, climbing to 4,000. Then turn left, maximum speed 220 knots, inbound to the VOR to initiate another approach, or as directed. So they have a published missed approach. Therefore, we need to check this before we even attempt the landing. In case it goes wrong, well, what do we do? Do we just, hang on, I'll make this corner. It's fierce tight. Pull up the handbrake, we'll get in. Doesn't work. They published the missed approaches on it. We'll practice these later on during the course, but just be aware of them. Now, our IFR communication. Now, lads, how are we going for time? We're doing well. So our IFR communication, we are starting this part tonight, right? And when it comes to our IFR communication, this is how we're going to speak. Some of us might be a little bit nervous, anxiety, and just general, I don't want to say a thing. I'm very nervous and no thanks. That's quite okay. The very first time I flew online, it was on Pilot Edge, going all the way back to me S ratings, I think they were called. I sat on the ramp at, what was the airport? San Luis is where I landed at, I'm about to forget the name. Oceana, right? I sat there for ages going, remember that scene out of Airplane and your man is just all like sweating? That was me. I was like, I got to talk. And every so often, even when I fly online, I have to usually take a bit of a breath and go, right, what am I saying? Oh, yeah, okay. That will only ever go with practice, right? It was often said, practice doesn't make perfect. Practice makes permanent. The more you do it, the easier it becomes. All right? So, IFR, communication. This is very important. A notebook and pen. You need yourself a notebook and pen. Because despite how good your memory is, or at least what you think it is, you need to write stuff down. If you were doing nothing else and only talking to ATC, well, you have some chance of retaining the instructions. But because you're keeping your aircraft systems up and running, your navigation, you could be running other things in the aircraft, such as, the passenger experience simulations, all of this stuff. You could be listening to me on the A320, right? Or someone who sounds like me and doesn't look like me, kind of, right? You need to write stuff down. Now, I created an IFR checklist last year, right? This little gadget over here. So if you have it, great. If you don't have it, well, drop me a DM. Tier 2 members and Tier 3 members, that's free, right? It's free because, well, you guys, you're supporting the channel. However, if you want to grab it, there is an updated one. It's priced at €1. It's a book. It's €1. If you want to grab it, you can download it from the Two Tone Murphy website. It's in the store, right? If you don't need it, you don't need it. You just need to write stuff down. I like it because, well, I print them out. I have an absolute ton of them, and I stick them all on my clipboard, right? And as I fill them out, well, I can put in my departure, my wind, the visibility, sky conditions. I can put in all the weather information. I can also put in all my frequencies. I can put in craft. I'll get to that in a moment. My taxi references, all the information that I need. This is done. It's scripted in such a way. It's following the normal voice procedure of ATC. So you can grab it. It's $1 if you want it. If not, if you're tier 2 and tier 3, drop me a DM on Discord and we'll get you sorted. I'll get one out to you. You don't necessarily need it. I just find it extremely helpful, right? So, expect the expected. This is important. So we'll spend a little bit of time on this before we start mulling into the practical side, right? During each stage of flying, we need to prepare ourselves for interactions with ATC. Starting off with clearance, all the way up to landing and taxiing back to our parking or stand area. As simulator pilots flying on the Vatsim network, we will experience slight changes or deviations in terms of what the information is passed or how it's passed to us, but try not to worry too much. A brilliant tip from Dave, 757 Spy, offers us some great advice. This will help us understand what to say and, more importantly, when to say it. When using vPilot or XPilot, we sometimes get a ping, a noise notification, when a controller becomes online mid-flight or when we enter a control zone that may not be visible. This ping or beep is a text message from the controller to you directly inside of the app. Once we get this ping, our response is made up of the following. What happens? Who are you talking to? Who are you? Where are you? And what do you know? Now you might say, well, I'll explain. Our response to this would look something like this. We'll say, Shannon Control, Firefly 235. So who am I talking to? Shannon Control. Who am I? I'm Firefly 235. Where am I? I'm overhead Deegan at flight level 170. Where are you? Yeah. And then what do you know? Information Bravo. Okay, that's enough. Getting beeped, as Dave calls it, while descending. Same crack. Who are you talking to? Who are you? Where are you? Or what are you doing? And what do you know? In that case, I'd say Shannon approach, Firefly 235, overhead Deegan at flight level 120, or flight level 120, descending to altitude 5,000 feet with information Bravo. Focus on the red prompts above as they will help guide you as to what to say. The information will be different each time, but the structure remains the same. 757 Spy, Dave, he flies, I think every day on Twitch. You'll catch him there. He's always on ATC. He's always on Vatsim. Have a listen into what Dave does. So clearance. Ah, yes, friends. Clearance. We need clearance, Clarence. Clearance. We need to obtain our IFR clearance during pre-flight. This can be quite the stumbling block for some pilots, often leading to communication errors and a misunderstanding. However, mastering this process, it's not as daunting as it may seem. Some important notes, right? A-firm, Roger, and Wilco do not mean the same thing. And a big thanks to Gilbo for clarifying this. A-firm, if you were to say A-firm means affirmative. Yes, that's all it means. Roger, information has been received or you understand. Roger. Wilco means you will comply. So, an example, if ATC come on to you and say, Firefly 235, are you okay or are you able for an intersection departure? What would you say? Would you say A-firm? Would you say Roger? Or would you say Wilco? He's asking you a question. Can you do this? What would you say, right? Wilco means will comply. They say in the military quite a lot, or A-firm, it's there, What would you say? Are you, Firefly 235, are you able for a intersection departure? Gibbo would say no because he paid for the whole runway. Brilliant. You would say either A-firm or are you able for an intersection? Well, A-firm. If he says to you, expect intersection departure, usually you read back the full instruction, but you can say, Roger, Wilco isn't what you'd use there. Just be aware there's differences between them, lads, right? So, moving on. Be sure you conduct a thorough research before requesting your clearance. Familiarise yourself with the pertinent details, such as the active runway and the expected departure route. This proactive approach not only helps streamline the communication process, but it also reduces the likelihood of surprises during your readback. If you just jump on and file your flight plan and hop into the sim and say, right, I'm going, the controller will more than likely read back some of your route. If you're not familiar with it, you won't know what to say. It's important to spend a little bit of time to say, okay, I'm going to be doing this. That's my runway. That's my departure. This is my altitude. Force yourself to slow everything down, especially when you're learning it. Before you know it, you'll be like so fast doing this, it will become your second language. You'll just know it, right? But starting off, try and slow yourself down so you fully understand what's going on, all right? Just with other communication aspects, I have included an example flight section with the corresponding format or the script. By studying the example flight, you'll gain insight into how communication unfolds during the pre-flight phase. When you're ready to take the reins, utilize the provided format to import your flight-specific information. With practice, guided by this resource, you'll soon find yourself navigating the clearance process with confidence and precision, rendering this guide obsolete in no time. Again, looking at the helpful guide from Dave, we can plan what to say and when to say it. Who are you talking to? That's the first thing. Okay, who are we talking to? Who are you? What are you? Where are you? What do you know? What do you want? Okay? Who are you talking to? That's the ATC station. Example could be Shannon Ground, Shannon Tower, right? Who are you? Well, that's your call sign, or it could be your tail if you're a general aviation, What are you? What's your aircraft? What are you in? Where are you? What's your location? I'm here at the airport. No. The example would be I'm at stand 30 or general aviation parking or any of those, right? Zunav, thank you for the follow. What do you know? You need to know a certain information code. It belongs to the ATIS, the Automatic Terminal Information Service. For example, information echo. I'll show you the ATIS now in a second. But what do you want? A bag of chips, please. No, right? What do you want? Well, I want my IFR clearance to Cork. IFR clearance to Cork, right? So you can fill in the blanks here. Departure, call sign, is at, location, information, request IFR clearance. There's one important note I've put in here, and it's in a different color if you can't see it. What's important here is the airport name. Now you might say, Murph, why on earth do you need the airport name? Well, here's a prime example. Let's say, revert back to the Vatsim top-down system. Let's say you're at an airport let's look at Dublin. Let's say you're in Weston, or let's say you're in Casement, right? The controller might not necessarily know where you are because, it's a radar service or control is on, or, Dublin approach is on. They have a massive scope. They're looking at loads of people in a massive vicinity. And I'll show you all this now on the radar, what it looks like.
Hello there.
They might know exactly what airport you're at. So you're going to tell them, hey, I'm at Casement or I'm at Weston. Ah, right, okay. So you're not at Dublin with everyone else. You're doing your own thing. Okay? That's what we do there. So for the purpose of this lesson, we're going to be on the ground at Shannon Airport. We need to check to see what controller is going to be active. And we'll figure all this out. This is the learning part, right? We'll go back to this in a while when we start the lesson, but this is the learning part. Have a read down through this. It goes anywhere from your clearance, then we progress to your push and start. Then you have something what's called conditional clearances. We'll learn about those a little bit later. But the conditional clearances, these are where the slight changes start coming in, right? For example, can anyone here in the chat, does anyone know what a T or P means? T or P, Tango, Romeo, Papa. Has anyone ever heard that before? Right? T or P. Does anyone know what that is? Have you ever heard it before? Chris, good to see you. So if I were to request push and start, right? Shannon Ground, Firefly 235, request push and start. And then ATC jump back on. Firefly 235, push and start approved. Tug release point alpha. Huh. Or you might just say TRP alpha. It's a tug release point. And you might say, where am I going to find that? It's on your chart, right? It's on your chart. Now, if it's not on your chart, and remember, this is where your planning comes into it, planning. If it's not on your chart, well, you put the hand up. And that could be a little message you sent to the controller prior to your flight. I cannot see TRPs. How you'll know that, when you've jumped in, you've already started listening to what's going on. If the controller is issuing TRPs and you don't have access to it, you now know what's going to happen. You're not going to get caught out. You'll send them a little message. Hey, I don't have TRPs. Grand, push and start approved, facing south. Grand, I know where my compass is. Do you get the idea? Okay. There's other conditional clearances here as well. Give way to the Aer Lingus, then push and start. Give way to the, oh yeah, there's another guy behind me. Right? You get the idea. These are conditional, little changes, right? And so on and so forth. We'll go through these at a later stage, but just to be aware, you have what's called conditional clearances. There's also something very different as well. For instance, if it's very busy and there's only one controller online, right? What they could say when you call up looking for your clearance, for example, Dublin approach, Firefly 235, Airbus A320, stand 30, information Bravo, request IFR to Cork. So I've told them, who am I? Where am I? What am I? What do I know? And what do I want? I've told him all this. Instead of him coming back with the full clearance over voice, he might say something like Firefly 235, clearance via PDC. What? What the hell is... What? Thanks! You may have never heard it before. That's a conditional clearance. What the controller is saying, I'll give you your clearance via your PDC. PDC is your pre-departure clearance. Basically, he's going to send it by text in vPilot. Ah, gotcha. Okay? Don't worry about all these things. Just be aware they can happen. PDCs, all right? Moving on, taxi clearances. That'll come later. We'll worry about those next week. Then your takeoff. And have a read down through these over the next few days, lads, because everything is scripted. I explain what happens, why it's happening, when it's happening, and what it is you're going to say. Now, the phraseology here is very tight based on Irish operations. In particular, one particular controller who's very nice, Adam. But they have been verified, and if you follow these, you're pretty much there. The controller will understand what you're looking for, right? And it'll help you understand what the controller is going to say next, right? It's quite repetitive, this stuff. Anyway, departure, en route, radar control services, little things when they start getting, oceanic operations, lateral offsets, right? I've talked about that. Your departure procedures, your arrival, landing taxi shutdown, the whole shebang, right? Now, we're getting there. We're just about to get started now for our lesson. In section 14, adapting to change, I have flagged some of the differences between Europe and the United States. There are differences. This list is not, it's not complete. It's not exhaustive. There will be others. However, call sign pronunciations are a little bit different. In Europe, we would be Firefly 235. In the US, we could be Firefly 235. There's little differences. Means the same thing, right? In Europe, we would be Shamrock 4136. In America, we'd be Shamrock 4136. Just remember, you read back what they've said to you. Keep the communication the same. Okay? Edson, yes. And phraseology differences when it comes to our altimeter or barrow. Let's have a listen here. In Europe, we use the dot. We call it decimal. Therefore, you're on 118.6. In America, that would be 118.6. The little differences. You don't need to worry about them. Just be aware they're there, right? We might get, in Europe, we usually hear climb flight level 120 and descend, whatever. In the US, you'd hear something like climb and maintain flight level 140 or descend and maintain. You rarely get the climb, maintain, or descend, maintained in Europe. Rarely, right? Then in Europe, we're used to hearing identified when ATC can see us. Firefly 235 identified. In the US, they might say Firefly 235 radar contact. Little differences. Also be careful of accents. Accents are a real thing on Vatsim. On Pilot Edge, they threw me completely. The controller I was speaking to, he had quite a strong accent, right? And I didn't know what he was saying. You know, it was like November 235, Romeo Mike, Ardent. Huh? Say again. My call sign at the time, November 235, Romeo Mike, Ardent. I didn't know what the hell he was. He was saying ident, right? So just try and listen. If you're going to fly in a region, well, spend a little bit of time listening to ATC in that region. You'll start picking up, that's what he means. Wait till you try Italy, all right? Spend a little bit of time just to say, that's what they're talking about. Okay. Weather, a little bit different. Visibility. We measure the distance in meters. Visibility, 9999 or 1 kilometer. The United States, it's measured in statute miles. Just be aware of it. Barometric pressure. What setting do we put our altimeters to? In Europe, we use the Q&H system, and it's measured in hectopascals. You'll often hear them, 1013 hectopascals, or hectopascals. Depends how you want to pronounce it. But that's what they say. In America, it could be altimeter 2909 or 2. They're recorded in inches of mercury. There are subtle differences. Most aircraft, some of the modern ones, they have a little switch, change to hectopascals to inches of mercury, and vice versa. Okay? Clearance and taxi instructions can be a little bit different. For example, in Europe, we would hear clear to Cork, the Curtle 1 Golf departure, stop climb, flight level 90. In America, you'll hear something different. Clear to destination is filed, initial altitude 2,000 feet, expect flight level 10, 10 minutes after departure. We don't get that in Europe. Very rare. We don't get an expect altitude. You can in some regions, but by and large, you don't. We don't do that, right? It's okay to do it, but usually we don't. Flight levels odd or even, right? Your transition altitudes, and then your pushback stuff. Pushing and starting in America is a lot different. In some regions, any activity within the airport premises, including the apron, necessitates prior approval from local ATC. Conversely, in other areas, aprons are typically exempt from the official movement area. As a general practice, in the United States, you're usually free to commence pushback and engine startup once you've received your IFR clearance. However, if your pushback will take you onto a taxiway, it's always better to inquire with the controller beforehand. Now, if you don't want to look like an idiot, send them a text message, or you'll figure out what's happening just by observing and listening to what else is happening in the vicinity. That's what it's all about. Have a listen in, right? Now, where are we at here? SID, stars, and vectors, a couple of differences there as well. These are the ones I've put in, right? I'm sure there's more. And again, let me know if you guys have any more. We'll have a now listen, all right? So, flying competence. This is all about your aircraft, knowing what to do, how to do it, where to do it. It's understanding airways and waypoints, your VORs, your ADF. Have an now read through that. Then we have airport etiquette, and this is very, very important. Your airport etiquette. How does one behave when we're at an airport? We've seen it all before. You plan your route, you file your plan, choose your stand, load into the sim, only to find another aircraft already on your stand, or as soon as you turn on the APU, someone spawns in on top of you. Oh, the simulated horror. Don't worry about it. Unless you've been assigned a stand, usually who's ever in first, it's theirs. First in, best dressed. If you're first in, usually you have the right of way. Usually, unless you've been assigned a stand and a slot time, right? If you happen to spawn in on top of someone else, it's cool. Just move to another stand or into a parking area or just out of the way. But you have to be sensitive and aware. If you spawn in on top of someone or you're blocking them or whatever, get out of their way. Just get out of the way, all right? If it happens, you can disconnect, reload in, as a disconnect from the network, move your aircraft and then reload in, right? Anyway, or just reactivate the network. Then you have your target startup approval times. These are important when it comes to events such as Cross the Pond or any of the Vatsim events. During events and times of unprecedented high traffic levels, controllers will assign a TSAT depending on the aircraft or for the departing aircraft. This is the time when the aircraft can expect to push back and start up. The time is calculated by ATC using the current taxiway time from the gate to the holding point. This method is used to reducing queuing numbers. So pilot decides what time they'll be ready to push at. That's the target off block time. Target off block time, within 15 minutes receive ATC clearance. When you have the target startup approval time, plus or minus 5 minutes, and so on. If you're unable to make your target startup approval time, inform ATC. If they say, right, Firefly 235, your target startup approval or TSAT 5 minutes, and you're in the MD friggin' 83, and it's going to take you a good 20 minutes to get that thing up and running. You got to tell them, I can't do that. Unable. Again, if you don't want to sound like a dope over the airwaves, drop them a message. Sorry, man, I need 20 minutes. They'll figure it out. All right. Tug release points, we spoke about them already, and then transferring to next station and your frequency change. Monitor and contact is different. So if they tell you monitor Unicom or, monitor Shannon Control, he's not telling you to contact Shannon Control. Be aware of that. You monitor, you listen. Contact, you talk to them. Okay? Right. Then you have contact tower call sign only. All you need to do, tune to that frequency, and you call them with your call sign. So for example, departure frequency 121.8. Okay? We've just taken off. Shannon approach, Firefly 235, passing altitude 2,500 feet for altitude 5,000 feet. Something like that, right? Then we talk about your taxi clearance, your right of way on the ground, non-standard departures, your departures and arrivals, taxiway limits. These are important because this is where a lot of us make mistakes, right? We'll either exceed the taxiway, God forbid, we'll have a runway incursion, we won't stop at the hold short, or we won't vacate correctly off of the runway. These are things we need to watch. We'll focus on these a little bit later in the course, okay? Then you have aerodrome signals and signage. Depending on the scenery that you're running, some of these are extremely accurate.
They've done studies,
Some of them...
60% of the time,
not so much.
It works every time.
Some of them not so much, all right? So just be aware what these signs mean. Because when you see them, suddenly, hey, look, I know what this sign means. Okay? Be aware of it. Again, I go through the Vatsim top-down system. It's imperative that we know that. We need to figure out who should we be talking to next. Prime example, myself and Gibbo were doing a shared flight a couple of weeks ago, right? And now, we created the headache because it was a shared flight environment and I said, I look after radios. But for whatever reason, my V pilot didn't detect that approach came online. So I was like on Unicom, we're going to be talking to tower next. This is brilliant, right? And meanwhile, none of the notifications of the beep were coming through on my V pilot client. This scared the crap out of the controller on approach. He's like, why aren't you talking to me? You need to talk to me. What did he have to do? He had to get an observer, a dude, a high-ranking official. And then they got in contact with us and they said, lads, approach is online. You're flying in approach's airspace. What the hell? And we're like, you'll never guess what. Me dog ate the homework and the cat ran away with the milkman. Like, excuses were nothing. Now, it was a huge eye-opener for us because it made us super sensitive to our V-pilot client whilst flying in a shared cockpit environment. If you're flying on your own, you can see things, they're laid out, and they do work really, really well. We found a conundrum when it came to the shared cockpit experience because the aircraft location wasn't being detected by ATC. It was a bug, we found it out, and it's grand. Just be aware of it, right? But yes. Infidel, good to see you, man. Welcome in. I haven't seen you in ages. How are you keeping? It was all Murphy's fault, basically. Basically, Gibbo was just flying the plane. Yes. And he did a great job. I just couldn't relay the information, This is why you don't rely on one source. Use more than one, 100%. So it could be your V-pilot, it could be SimAware, it could be VATSpy, loads of different things, just to be sure you can see where the ATC coverage area is, so you don't make the mistake of entering that airspace without talking to them first. That's all. But again, we'll worry about that later. This is the V-pilot client. This is specific to when we're going on Vatsim. We don't need it for the course at the moment. But just to explain, you can see here, you have your connect or disconnect button. You have your mode, ident, flight plan settings. There is a recent update to this, and I want to say thanks to Dougal McTavish, who told me the flight planning element of vPilot, Xpilot already has it. The flight planning element of vPilot is being turned off. You won't be able to file a flight plan using vPilot, at least not yet. Vatsim wants you to go directly to their website and create the flight plan there. Now, if you're using SimBrief or whatever, they can still do an export or an import over to Vatsim. That's totally fine. But the changes here are the flight planning feature of your vPilot application. Forget about it now. You don't need it. They've effectively turned it off. All right. Okay. You'll also see on this thing, this is what the client looks like, messages. And it shows you on the left-hand side, the controllers in range. And you'll identify the controller by their code, their ICAO code, and also their frequency. Fair enough. So now, friends, how are we doing now? Are we learning something? IFR lesson 1, right? This is what we're doing tonight. IFR lesson 1. We need clearance, Clarence. Now, I've broken this down into a number of different parts. This is what our focus is on tonight, okay? So, lesson 1 of the series will cover the fundamental topics of an IFR clearance. Now, I can explain, the introduction of IFR clearance, understanding clearance elements, our clearance checklist, requesting clearance, reading and interpreting it, scenario practice, and then we review it. We'll go down through this, right? In this section, we're going to be using Navigraph, SkyVector, and some charts to plan the location and the route. We're going to be using our own flight planning software on the website. We'll use SimAware for monitoring traffic, and we'll use Vatsim and SimBrief to complete and file our plan. So in this one, we're just using SimBrief. I'll show you what to do. We're going to plan a flight from Shannon to Cork. Now we're not doing the flight tonight. We're just doing clearance. We're all going to plan a flight from Shannon to Cork. We're all doing the same, so it'll be easier when we're listening into other people. Aircraft selection is vital for any pilot wishing to fly in Vatsim and these lessons. You need to know how to fully operate the aircraft and its systems. A common mistake most people make when they choose a big airliner, then they get themselves into difficulty when they're unable to control the FMS or the flight management system. There's no right or wrong aircraft, but make sure whatever one you choose, you are the most proficient with it. For this lesson, I'm actually using the A320, but again, don't worry about that. So, IFR clearances play a vital role in ensuring safety and efficiency of instrument flight operations. Safety, compliance with ATC, navigation and routing, altitude assignments, weather avoidance, coordination with ATC. These are all the reasons as to why we need our clearance, right? When it comes down to the compliance with ATC, well, we need to make sure the route, altitude, and additional instructions are relayed to us. That's important. Okay? If we want to say, yeah, IFR clearance to Cork, grand, yeah, you're cleared, go on there now to Cork. Well, sure. Well, no, you need a full explanation and direction of what it is you're doing. Now, we're going to prep most of this by putting together a flight plan. Yeah? ATC will either agree or disagree. ATC can only do this when you have filed a flight plan. If they can't see your flight plan, they'll tell you, I don't have your flight plan. It's only when you file your flight plan, ATC will properly engage with you. Okay? Right. The IFR clearance check sheet, that's the one I showed you earlier, right? As I said, it's available for Tier 2 and Tier 3 members. There it is there. I just write it out. I've actually printed this off and it's double-sided. And if you want this all on one A4 sheet of paper, well, you can. Just go into your printer properties and then just change the scaling of it. But that's available, as I said, online if you want it. If you don't want it, you don't need it. Just write it out on a bit of paper. You need to write stuff down. You will equip yourself with a pion or pion Louis, a pen or a pencil, and a bit of paper. You need to write stuff down. Okay. So, how do we request our clearance? I'm going to teach you this. The name, always remember this name. Craft. C-R-A-F-T. Craft. I'll talk about it now. Requesting IFR clearance using the craft method involves following a structured approach to communicate what air traffic control or with air traffic control. If you write down craft, C-R-A-F-T, length or horizontally, no, vertically, write it vertically, C-R-A-F-T. Each of those letters mean a something. And you'll start learning this. The C in the word craft, that's your clearance limit. The end point of the clearance, usually but not always the destination airport. Right? Craft. The OR, your route. The route that the flight is to follow as part of the clearance, often the route originally filed, although ATC might need to change that for whatever reason. They'll tell you. They'll tell you. A is for altitude, the initial altitude, and in many cases, a time in which cruise altitude clearance may be expected. Again, that's mainly on the US side, but your altitude. In Europe, you might get something initial altitude 5,000 feet, or you might get stop climb, as in stop climbing, flight level 9,000 feet. Okay? The F stands for frequency, the radio frequency that you need to have when you're departing. What frequency? So they might say contact departure on 121.8. All right, okay, 121.8. Gotcha. Then you have transponder. T is for transponder. We call it your squawk code. Squawk. The transponder code that must be set for the aircraft prior to departure. Right? Craft. Clearance, route, altitude, frequency, transponder. That's it. That's your clearance, lads. That's it. Okay? After you receive your IFR clearance, it's essential to effectively read and interpret the clearance to ensure safe and compliant flight operations. So this is how you do it. You review each component, carefully review each component of the clearance, including the limit, the route, the altitude, frequency, and your transponder. Understanding the instructions, right? If you get a route change, if they change your SID, if they change the runway, okay. Don't worry about changing your flight plan just yet. ATC are now telling you a thing. You need to write it down and read it back to them. Okay, then go off and do the thing. That's important. Interpreting restrictions. So if there's a restriction, they might say, stop climb 9,000. Hey, but I wanted to fly my cruise altitude at 28,000 feet. Doesn't matter. You've been given a restriction, or they might say, a restriction could be the opposite. They might turn off a restriction. They might say unrestricted climb. Huh? What do you mean unrestricted climb? It means you can absolutely go hell for leather. No speed restrictions. Brilliant. Mach 7. Off you go. You get the idea. And then we have this clarifying ambiguities. If a student encounters any ambiguities or uncertainties in the clearance, seek clarification. If ATC are asking you to do a thing and you just haven't a clue what it is they're saying, well, ask them to say again. And if you're not sure about it, tell them what you're going to do. If you're given a wild instruction by ATC, right? Go back to them. Shannon Ground. Sorry, I don't understand. I will contact you on, PDC. It's okay to do that if you're stuck, right? Tell them where you're at. Or if they're talking to you, drop them a quick message. Sorry, mate, what are you talking about? You know what I mean? You'll alleviate any of this sort of a challenge by listening and observing what's going on before you. But if you get caught out, you're going to get caught out. Well, you need to clarify it. What do you mean? What do you want me to do? Okay, yeah, I can do that. Right? So we're going to have our scenario practice, right? This is going to be great gas now because, well, this is going to be great gas, right? I hope I don't mess this up. So what we're going to do now, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, I'm going to go through the flight planning first, or in a moment, but I want to kind of just do my thing, right? So I want to show you here briefly the scope. I want to show you the scope, okay? So what we're using, this was created here by Rambog Mord, right? And basically, it's Euroscope, but he's managed to get everything working in here. I'm currently on the ground frequency. This is what the ground frequency looks like. That's all I can see. Now I can zoom out the map, of course, but I can't see much, right? I'm looking at ground. This is what the ground ATC can see. All right? Now, if I wanted to jump to, tower view, well, this is what the tower view looks like. Okay, that's a lot bigger. I can see a whole lot of stuff. I can see some of the ground, but I have a much, much bigger fray of what's going on. And then approach and so on, they all get bigger, right? This is Euroscope. So this is the ground view. So we have my good old buddy old pal, Gibbo. And where's Rambog? What's Rambog's? Oh, Jesus, they got all the call signs done. This is brilliant, right? Why am I seeing all these? I don't even have multiplayer turned on. Oh, wait. I bet you Rambog has his stuff turned on. That's why I'm seeing them. That would probably make a lot of sense. Okay. Now, what I'm going to ask everyone to do. Now, let me just check in with Gibbo to make sure I'm not making a complete balls of this. So 1 second, lads. Bit of voice in here. Let's see here now. We'll jump in. Asher, how are you, Gibbo?
You're doing a great job. Keep it up.
Oh, thanks very much. Thanks very much. Come here. I was going to say, we'll do our little tester first. If that's okay, or how are we getting on?
Yeah, sounds good. Sounds
Okay.
good. Let's do it.
Right. Okay, sweet. Okay. Now, lads, for this, I'm going to jump into Shannon Ground. No one else go in there for the minute. I'll show you what I'm doing, but don't go in there for the minute. This is important, right? This is important. So this is how the whole thing is going to work. I'll follow you now, right? You need to activate multiplayer, otherwise I don't show up. Okay, gotcha. Or if you need to press a button. That's the wrong button. Right, we'll give it a second. Right? So multiplayer is starting to work up. So I'm going to jump into the Shannon Ground radio frequency, right? And in a couple of moments, I'm expecting Gibbo, who's Firefly 9er, to jump on comms and request a something, okay? And I think I have 266, that's Rambog. So it might be a little bit difficult to see here on the map, but what I can see, right? If I click on Gibbo here, right? I can say, okay, oh, look, here's Gibbo, right? Zoom in here now so I can see him. I can see where his... I should be able to see his flight plan. Why can't I see that? Murphy, why can't we see that? So there is Gibbo, we have him. Okay, flight plan. So here's Gibbo's flight plan. I can see this because he's filed it. Gibbo has filed a flight plan, right? So I can now put in a squawk number for Gibbo, right? Set a squawk. So I'm expecting Gibbo to call me up here now any moment. He'll jump on and say Shannon Ground, who he is, what he is, where is he, what does he know, and where is he going. Now, prior to Gibbo talking to me, he needs to jump into a voice channel. Have a look at this, lads, right? So let me just tidy up my audio here so you'll actually be able to hear what's going on, right? So there's everyone there, all these aircraft around. There's a ton of people here. This is so awesome. I'm going to pause my sim just for a moment and I need to have a listen in here because I'm going to show you on Discord. These are all our ATC channels for the course. You're going to see them down here. This is our Discord, right? You're going to see the IFR course, and then you're going to see all the different channels that we have. So we do have Shannon ATIS. So I'm going to jump into ATIS and have a listen. And it's not working. Rambog, can you turn on the old Shannon ATIS? Because I don't think she's working. It will work now in a moment. Oh, actually, if I jump back in here, I'll tell him. So we're using a custom ATIS channel, and this will come alive here now in a moment, right? It just needs to restart the gadget, I would say. But what we're going to do, it is working. Okay. Negative. Not working, dude. We'll try on a different channel to be sure.
Shannon Airport Information Uniform 2130 Zulu. Wind 150 at 9 knots. Visibility 5 kilometers. Ceiling 500 broken. Overcast sky.
That's our ATC ATIS up and running. I just want to check to make sure it's working. Why isn't that working on this? Oh, hang on. Again, this is where we kind of test things. Voice and video. Output device needs to be this.
Running away. Advise controller on initial contact that you have information uniform.
Nice. Okay, so it works, right? The system works. Si, get out of that channel quick. You're not to be in there. Come up there. So our ATIS works. So the first thing we need to do, we need to listen to the ATIS. The current information is information uniform. So what we do next, I'm going to await.
Shannon Ground, Firefly Air 9er, type Vision Jet at stand 43. Request IFR clearance to Cork with information uniform.
So here's Gibbo talking to me. I must now respond to Gibbo, right? So this should work. So if I press this button, and let's see what happens. Firefly 9er, Shannon Ground. You are cleared to Cork. Curtum 3 Alpha departure, runway 06. Initial altitude 5,000 feet. Squawk 6634.
Clear to Cork on the Curra 3 Alpha departure for runway 06. Initial climb 5,000 feet. And could you repeat the squawk, please, for Firefly Air 9er.
Squawk 6634.
Squawk 6634. Firefly Air 9er.
Firefly 9er, readback correct.
Hello there.
That's it. And that's it, right? So Gibbo now got his clearance. I have his clearance. That's how you do your IFR clearance. Who is he? Who's he talking to? Where is he? What is he? What does he know? And what does he want? So we've gone through all of that, okay? So the next aircraft talking to me now should be Rambog. He's going to request one, right? And again, I can find Rambog here. So he is, well, I don't know where he is. He's somewhere on my map. So he's going to be Firefly 226. Let's see here now.
Shannon Ground, good evening. Firefly 266 is a vision jet at the GA parking with information uniform, requesting IFR to Cork, please.
Firefly 266, Shannon Ground, you are cleared to Cork via the Curram 3 Alpha departure, runway 06. Stop climb, flight level 90, squawk 6632.
Firefly 266 cleared to Cork via the Curram 3 Alpha departure, runway 06. Initial climb, flight level 90, squawk 6632.
Firefly 266, readback correct. So, initial climb, stop climb. We're not going to get too worried with how... I just know that Firefly 266 knows don't go any higher than 9,000 feet.
Hello there.
That's it. You don't need to know any more than that. Now, you might be saying, okay, when do we talk about, Q and H? They've already read back that they have information uniform, okay? And that's important because if you have the wrong information, well, you could be in trouble. You could be in absolute trouble, all right? So it's important to know what's going on. So all pilots now who are taking part, lads, all pilots spawn in on the North Europe server, okay? And Gibbo is going to be looking after you. He'll be chatting to you in the voice channels. He's going to explain to you what's going to happen next, all right? But what we're going to do now, I'm going to take you through planning your flight. This is how we're going to plan our flights. And remember, lads, if some of this is going over your head, don't worry. We're going to do this over and over. Tonight, we're just focusing, how do we get our clearance? Okay? Next week, we're going to be looking on, well, we'll do our clearance. Then we'll do our taxi, or push and start, taxi, and then our departure. That'll be all done on next week. Now, not to scare you, the clearance is probably the most crucial in terms of the information. Push and start, well, that's a natural flow. When it comes to our taxi instruction, depending on the runway, that's why we've chosen Shannon. It'll either be very easy, taxi Alpha, or it could be taxi Delta 1, Delta 2, Charlie, hold short runway 24. It's relatively simple. After you depart, your instruction will be talk to ATC or talk to Unicom. But for this week, tonight, we're just doing the clearance. Now, I don't know how well you can see my screen here. You might need to pinch it or zoom it in. But I have Firefly 9er with his information and a squawk. That's Gibbo. I've dragged him over here. And I've ticked the little box that says he has been cleared. Clearance is received. So I can see Firefly 006. I haven't given him clearance yet. And as we progress tonight, the lads will move you over to different channels and they will hop you onto a different frequency. They'll tell you, jump onto this frequency. I'll then pick you up and then we'll go through it. All right? So don't be worried here. You're following a script. You're just reading it out. It's only you and me. And we'll see how we get on with that. All right. So for the moment, I can see that I have Rambog and Gibbo. They're now cleared and they're going to have to do their own stuff. I'm now going to go through our flight plan. All right. So bit of concentration on this one and we'll talk through it. So we're going to start off with SimBrief. Over my head, Firefly 205, flight level 410. That's how far I'm over my head. Practice is key, says Copper New. Absolutely. Absolutely. Every single flight helps a lot to learn. It does, lads. Don't expect to walk away knowing everything on your first go. It takes a little bit of time. But we'll have a bit of crack with it. Do you know what I mean? Might as well. Ring Bold, good to see you, man. Good to see you. And again, if anyone has questions or if you're struggling, put them in the chat. Put them on our Discord. We have the IFR ATC chat in there. So if you're stuck, you know, stick it on Discord. I'll show you where that is. On our Discord page, I'll hide my mug here now for a second so you can actually see the divil what's happening, right? So you have all our ATC stuff here, ATC Course. When you join our Discord, you must go to the start here and click on the Shamrock. Otherwise, stuff doesn't work. You must start there, okay? Click on the Shamrock and the channels will open up. This is the IFR course. This is where I'll put some information, okay? And then we have our general chat. See this general chat? This, look at the state. This is where if you have any questions, if you're unsure what's happening, well, this is where we're going to communicate for. So I can put in a simple hello all. And then if you're in there, you can jump back and have a now listen to see what's going on. Yeah. Does anyone have any questions as we're going through the few bits while we're waiting? Because if you do have questions, it's quite okay. We just need to have a now little listen to see what's going on. Do you know what I mean? Bit of music for our intro. So Sterling, you're having a bother trying to get in, okay? Hello there. Ah, brilliant. So where is Sterling? Are you in any of the voice channels? You are. Sterling. Rolls. Okay. That's interesting. Never mind, you made it. Grand, okay. Compilots are trying to ensure they're on North Europe. Yes, lads, very important. We need to get you onto the North Europe server. This is how our whole system works. We need you on the North Europe server. All right? Now, right, so Murphy will continue on because I'm going to show you how to do a flight plan. All right? Cue that music. So our flight tonight, we're going to plan for, we're going to start with a new flight. I'm going to explain what all of this is, so we'll follow along and see what happens. This is SimBrief. It's free to register. You can do all your flight planning for free. I highly recommend, again, getting a Navigraph subscription because that'll keep your AirAC data up to date, plus charts and everything else. We're going to go to new flight. And when we click on the new flight, again, the highlighted areas, this is information it must know this stuff. So I'm going to start the airline ICAO code. Well, that's going to be Firefly Air or FAA or FFA, Firefly. And my flight number, that's my call sign, Firefly 235. My departure is Shannon. My arrival is Cork. If you don't know the ICAO codes, go in and have a look at the map. You'll see them on the airport, right? Nothing is working on Discord. Not working. Don't know the airport. Iron Knob Airways. Are you on Discord? Drop me a DM and we'll fix it. The departure airport is Shannon, Echo India, November. Okay? Right, aircraft type. You go by your aircraft. It's a drop-down list. I'm in the A320-200 series, and I'm going to change the airframe to the Phoenix Simulations IAE engine. Okay? My climb profile, cost index, descent profile, fuel. Don't worry about any of that jazz. I don't need to worry about that right now. Okay? All I need to put in is my call sign, where I'm going, where I'm leaving and where I'm going. That's it. That's the main thing here, right? Now we can see we have a couple of options when it comes to our flight. Now, that's a straightforward flight, not ideal. I want to have SIDS and stars. So see the way it has these suggested routes. It's in this area here you would find your Eurocontrol stuff if you need them, right? And if you click to look at some of the suggested routes, you can find flights that were done on Vatsim, you can find that were just done on SimBrief, or indeed, this is going to show you flights that actually happened in the real world by clicking on any of these links. They'll actually say, hey, this actual aircraft went from there to here in the real world, and this is the route they took. It's all linked through SimBrief. It's done very, very well. So I'm going to select this one, and let's just double check the runways. Listening to the ATIS, I know runway 06 is active. Brilliant. My arrival runway in Cork, runway 16. Again, check your charts or have a look to see what's happening on the network. So I'm happy enough with that. Departure runway 06, arrival runway 16, and there's my flight plan. I'm going to generate the flight. That's the first thing we do. We've generated the flight plan on SimBrief. Now we're going to hop over to Navigraph. This is where I have all my charts. And I'm going to import the flight. So I'm going to say import flight from SimBrief. It's going to find it. It's going to be Shannon to Cork. That's what my flight looks like. Okay, nice. Automatically, this is going to start populating the charts it thinks I need. Sweet. And if I need to find any more, I just go into whatever airport and say, hey, show me the charts for Cork, the approach. It's going to be runway 16. I want the ILS, please. Click on the ILS or pin the ILS chart. And now you have the ILS chart if and when you need it. This is going to give you your ILS frequencies to tune into your computer. Everything just be grand. You can even overlay the chart if you don't want to block in your vision. So you'll still see your moving aircraft and say, ah, right, okay, I'm now at this I'm now on this ILS approach. Okay? Grand. Next up, I need to enter all this into our website. This is how we're going to get it. Okay? So what we're going to do, see on the route, see where it says route? This is your route that you've just planned. I want you to copy that. Now, do you copy for charts or Vatsim? Just copy the divil. Drag your mouse over it, right click and copy.
Hello
Just
there.
copy it. Okay? Grand. When you've copied it, we're going to go back into the IFR page and we're going to go into flight planning. Now, this is probably picking things up from the last time I was in there. So I'm going to just delete all of this. And I'm going to show you what we're going to do. Okay. So it's all nice and blank. Flight plans are entered here. They'll show up for the controllers. So that's where we're going to see them on the scope. So your call sign, that's simple enough. Whatever your call sign that's been assigned to you goes in there. Flight rules, are you IFR or VFR? For this, or IFR. Aircraft type, the ICAO. If you're stuck, you can go in and find it here. Yeah. It'll say A320. We put it in here, A320 232. Wake category of the aircraft, it's medium. Right, again, go back to the document, it'll tell you when you need to put in heavy or otherwise. Our departure, where are we flying from? Well, we're flying from Shannon. Off block time. What time do you expect to get off the block? Push back from the stand. Well, the current time is 22:13 Zulu, so let's put in 22:30. And this is all UTC or Zulu time, same thing. What's your cruise altitude for the flight? In the SimBrief, it'll tell you initial altitude is 7,000. If you view your actual operational flight plan, you can see where all your stop climbs are. So it's giving me 7,000, nothing higher. Maximum altitude, 7,000 feet. Okay. Altitude, 7,000 feet. What cruise speed are you going to do? Again, you go into your operational flight plan and it'll give you your speed. So it's according to the VNAV, what's this? 385 or hang on now, sorry no. Where's my speed? It's usually probably 280 knots or 320 knots. Whatever you're kind of comfortable with. If you don't know, put in your normal cruise speed, how fast you want to go. For this, I'm going to put in 250 knots. And the reason why I'm doing 250, for this course, it's all about taking our time. Don't rush through it. Spend a bit of time kind of just going through the procedures, right? Georgia says, SimBrief doesn't give me departures and arrivals for Shannon, Cork, just Cork in the route. So you need to, if you're in your SimBrief plan, just go down where it says, go down here, Georgie, look. See where your route is? You should be able to see suggested routes. Suggested routes. Now, if you have Navigraph, there's another way you can do a flight plan. I'll show you. But, you know, your suggested routes. You should get the options in there then. Yeah? It's really cool, Murph, and this is all in SimBrief. This is all SimBrief. Yeah. Right, we continue on. So our arrival is Cork. Echo India Charlie Kilo. That's Cork. Our alternate airport, well, that's on our plan. Our alternate is Dublin. Now, again, we can change that alternate if we wanted to, because that means we need to carry sufficient fuel that'll get us back to Dublin if this goes wrong. We could easily divert to Kerry, or we can go to Waterford. It's up to us. We need to put that in ourselves. Before this, I'm going to leave it in Dublin. Echo India Delta Whiskey. En route time. How long is this going to take? Well, it says it here. Where is it now? 050 is our estimated time flying. About 50 minutes. Not terribly far, right? Air time block time. It's 50 minutes. All right. So I'll put in en route time 0050. How much fuel are we going to have on board? Again, we can have a look. Air time is 20 minutes. Block time, well, that's your block fuel. But you go into your aircraft, block fuel, it's probably giving you about 2 hours, realistically. So just put in, 2 hours. This isn't vital. Your route details. We copied it earlier on. This is where you paste it. This is your route. This is what you're telling us what you're doing. So it's Shannon, runway 06. See this entry here, this N whole load of stuff? Get rid of that. You don't need that. Get rid of that. The Curta 3 Alpha, that's your SID. That's your departure. Curtam is your waypoint. The Curta 1 Romeo is your arrival. And then you've Cork, runway 16. If this is going over your head, don't worry. This is recorded and we're going to be doing this week in, week out. We're all going to be doing pretty much the same flight plans because, well, this is what the active weather is telling us, right? So if you're unsure, all you need to, I'll put it in the chat, that is the route you need to pop in there. That's the route. Copy and paste that gadget there, and then you put it into your route details. Your call sign is your call sign. IFR, aircraft type, put that in yourself. If you don't know it's a 232, just put in an A320. If you're in a 737, it's B738, whatever it is, right? Weight category, unless you're in a 74, it's medium. Your airspeed, just put in what speed you want to cruise at. Don't worry about your flight plan. Pick something that you're comfortable with. We'll worry about all the other stuff later on. The altitude in which your flight plan is giving you, or you can just say it's 7,000, right? Off block time, what time do you want to get going at? Your arrival, your alternate, how long are you going to be en route? So en route isn't actually 50, it was more 25. It's a 20-minute flight. But depending on your speed, you can, don't worry about this later. Or don't worry about this until later. We'll figure all that stuff out. When you're ready to go, submit the flight plan. It's now giving out, must be 4 characters. Must be 4 characters. It didn't like that I put in symbols. That's all. Submit the plan. Flight plan submitted successfully. That's it. You've now filed your flight plan. You now jump back into Euroscope. Well, I should be able to see Firefly 235. That's me, right? And I can see if I right click on where I am, I'm over here in the corner. Flight plan, here it is. So I'm going to be Shannon to Cork. Speed is going to be 250. I want to get out of here at 10:30. Altitude is going to be 7,000. There's my route. Okay. Give myself a squawk, 6633. Okay. And I'm going to mark myself down as cleared. I've just given my clearance. Or in this case, I'll ask for clearance. So have a listen to me, talking to me, but I'm actually doing the thing with the yoke. Are you ready? Okay. So I need to talk as me. So I'll jump on the radio. Shannon Ground, Firefly 235. Airbus A320 at IAC parking. Information uniform. Request IFR to Cork. Huh? Firefly 235, Shannon Ground. You are clear to Cork via the Curtam 3 Alpha departure, runway 06. Stop climb, flight level 70, squawk 6633. Firefly 235, clear to Cork. Curtam 3 Alpha departure, runway 06. Stop climb, flight level 70, squawk 6633. Firefly 235, readback correct. That's it. Clearance is done. Well done, Murphy. You big idiot. You've got your clearance. That's it for tonight. Next week we'll go into what happens next. But it's just a clearance, right? Just a clearance. So, I'm on Shannon Ground, I believe. Am I on Shannon Ground? Yes, I'm on Shannon Ground. So when aircraft want to call me up, I'll be able to get some information from them. We'll have a listen and I'll be able to give them their clearances, you see? So it's up to you guys to start a chatting. And remember, if there's someone on the airwaves, well, you know, always give it a moment. If Shannon is talking and there's someone else there, you know, you just need to give them a moment. When you jump online, just have a listen to what's happening. All right. Now, when it comes to the ATC letter for our ATIS lads, this is important. All you need to do, you can listen to the full ATIS, but if you just want to get the letter, if you click on the bot itself, so if I go all the way down here to Where's it? Shannon ATIS.
Hello there.
Information Victor is now current. V. Information Victor is current. So what I can do here now, I can jump on the airwave. All stations, this is Shannon Ground. Current information Victor is active. And now everyone in Shannon Ground says, oh, Victor is active. Great. Okay. Thank you, Dan. Mid-pilot, good to see you. Are we starting? Yes, we're starting. When you're ready to call for clearance, call me for clearance. We need clearance, Clarence. And let's see how we go, lads. Don't be afraid. Push. All you're asking, who are you? What are you? Where are you? What do you know? And what do you want? Who are you? You know, what are you? Where are you? What do you know? And what do you want?
10-4, good
Right?
buddy.
Texas One Flyboy, thank you very much indeed, man. Cheers. That's insane support. 22 months. Thank you very much indeed, man. Thank you. Max Lightweight. Brilliant. Okay, so we have a lot of people coming in. So we just need someone now. You're tuned in. Make sure you're on your Discord. It's push to talk on Shannon Ground.
Shannon Ground, Firefly 308, citation CG4, it's 1044. We have information fixture request IFR ATC Course.
Okay, we'll read it back to them. So listen to this. Button Smurf. Firefly 308, Shannon Ground. You are clear to Cork. Currum 3 Alpha departure, runway 06. Stop climb flight level 90. Squawk 6637.
Clear to Cork on the Curra 3 Alpha departure, runway 06, initial climb, flight level 90, sorry. Squawk 6637, Firefly 308.
Firefly 308, your readback is correct. Nice! See, we're getting them done, lads. That was brilliant. That was brilliant. Lemon Cornflakes says, a good practice for all new pilots, fly at easy airports. I couldn't agree more. Pick airports that have simple or straightforward taxiways. Start or spawn in nearest to the runway as possible on a stand that has like a very short taxi. You know what I mean? Pick an aircraft you're familiar with. Pick a location you're familiar with. These are all the things that will help you along. And it's the more you do it, the better you get. You know what I mean? Yeah, don't do it at Heathrow. Brilliant. Okay, lads, don't be afraid. Once you know the airwave is open, jump on. Shannon Ground, who are you? What are you? Where are you? What information do you have? And what do you want? Remember those. And a shout out to Dave for them, because that's Dave's method of... Do you know where it is?
Shannon Ground, Firefly 303, Cessna 414, at GA parking, requesting IFR clearance to Cork.
Now, there's something not right there, because I can't see Firefly 303. 1 second now. I don't see Firefly 303. So that must mean I've no flight plan, I would think. Firefly 303, Shannon Ground, I don't see a flight plan for you. Can you confirm you have filed your flight plan?
Shannon Ground, Firefly 303, yes, affirm. I filed a flight plan.
Okay, this is interesting. 1 second now, lads. This is why we break things. Let's see. So why can't I see one on the scope? What are we? Firefly 303. That's interesting. Now we have a 003. Was it 003 or 303? Who's Firefly 303? Let's have a quick look. Okay, so Firefly 303, 301, 302, 304. We must have a 303. Bom, bom, bom. Okay. Okay, very strange. Right, not coming up, but sure, that's okay. 303, and there's a flight plan done. Firefly 303, Shannon Ground. You are clear to Cork. Curram 3 Alpha departure, runway 06. Stop climb 090. Squawk 6464. And let's see what happens.
Shannon Ground, Firefly 303, cleared on the... Could you repeat the departure, please?
Yes. Firefly 303, you are cleared to Cork. Curram 3 Alpha departure, runway 06. Stop climb, flight level 90. Squawk 6464.
Clear to Cork via the Curram 3 Alpha departure on runway 6. Initial climb, flight level 090, squawk 6460.
Correction, squawk is 6464.
Correction, 6464 for squawk code. Firefly 3030.
Firefly 303, read back correct. Okay. Lads, this is what it's all about. Don't worry if you're making a mistake or there's something happen. Don't worry about it. It's only us, right? We're here to learn. We're here to work together. That's what it's all about. What I will ask, if you have received your clearance, would you mind jumping back over to the North Europe server, please? And we'll try and get down through these as quickly as we can. So who's next? Start jumping in there, lads. Whenever you're ready, look for your clearance and we'll try and get you going. This is new. We're testing this out. It's mad, isn't it?
Shannon Ground, Firefly 408.
Firefly 408, Shannon Ground, pass your message.
Shannon Ground, Firefly 408 is a Boeing 737 at gate 32 with information Victor requesting IFR clearance to Cork.
Firefly 408, you are clear to Cork. Curram 3 Alpha departure, runway 06. Stop climb, flight level 70. Squawk 6635. Lemon Cornflakes says, Golden Rune and Vatsim, you don't understand.
Clear to
Ask.
Cork via Kuru 3 Alpha departure, runway 06. Stop climb altitude at 5,000 feet. Squawk flight level. Sorry.
It's okay. It's okay. That's why we're working together.
Stop climb altitude at 7,000 feet. Squawk 6635. Firefly 408.
Firefly 408. Read back correct. Just to be clear, flight level 70. Yeah, read back's correct. You got there. Don't worry if you jumble the words up.
Flight level 70, Firefly 408.
408, your readback is correct. Thanks. Like, don't worry if you make a mistake. That's the whole point, lads. We're here to kind of learn it together. You know what I mean? So once
Shannon
again,
Ground, Firefly 001.
Firefly 001, Shannon Ground, pass your message.
Firefly 001, 8320. Information Victor is on board. Stand 37. Request IFR to Cork, please.
Firefly 001, you are clear to Cork on the Curram 3 Alpha departure, runway 06. Stop climb, flight level 70. Squawk 6636.
Clear to Cork via Curram 3 Alpha departure, runway 06. Squawk 6636 and stop climb for level 70, Firefly 001.
And Firefly 001, readback correct. So, like, don't get overly worried if you get the layout a little bit wrong. So, Firefly 001, you know, when he read back the instruction, he gave me the squawk and then, oh yeah, and then the altitude. I know he knows it, so don't worry too much. If you jumble things around, it's grand. If now you're getting the phraseology a little bit wrong,
That's a big 10-4, good buddy.
it's grand. Like, that's why we have a manual there. That's why there's a script there, right? The focus tonight is break the mic fright, give yourself a chance to be able to say, hey, I want to talk to a controller, and then see how we go. You know what I mean? One of the controllers in the house. Jamie, good to see you. You're going to cringe, but we're learning. Do you know?
Shannon
slowly.
Ground, FFA 202.
Firefly 202, Shannon Ground, pass your message.
Shannon Ground, FFA 202, a Cessna longitude. Request IFR departure to Cork.
Firefly 202, you are clear to Cork, Curram 3 Alpha departure, runway 06, stop climb, flight level 70, squawk 6630. Cheers, Jamie. Appreciate that, man. Yeah, 100%. So what we've managed, well, I didn't, the lads did, we can get Xbox and PC pilots onto Euroscope.
Shannon Ground, FFA 202. 202. Squawk 6630, cleared to Cork.
And Firefly 202, cleared to Cork, Curram 3 Alpha departure, runway 06, stop climb, flight level 70, squawk 6630. Give it another bash. So remember, read back, you're clear to Cork, the SID, the runway, altitude restriction, and your squawk. Ringbold, have a great
Shannon
evening,
Ground,
dude.
FFA 202. Cleared to Cork, INN runway 06 to Curram. Altitude 7,000 feet. Squawk 6630.
Firefly 202, read back correct. So there's a few things you might pick up there. So there's double audio, right? So it's going to be tricky when you're setting up your audio. If you're experiencing that, just reach out, talk to us, lads.
Ground, Firefly 007 is a Cessna 414 at gate 24 Alpha with information Victor. Request IFR clearance to Cork.
Firefly 007, Shannon Ground, you are cleared to Cork, Curram 3 Alpha departure, runway 06, initial altitude 5,000 feet, squawk 6631.
Clear to Cork via the Curram 3 Alpha on runway 06. Climb flight level 5,000 feet, squawk 6631, Firefly 007.
Firefly 007, read back correct. So, as I said, don't get...
Ground, Firefly. Sorry.
Go on.
Shannon Ground, Firefly 266.
Firefly 266, Shannon Ground, pass your message.
Yeah, so we have a bit of a technical issue. I think it's Microsoft server related. So you will have Firefly 602 come in here and request clearance, but they won't show up on scope. I just want to prepare you for that. It's going to be the same flight plan as everyone else.
Lovely. Yeah, we'll keep an eye out for that. Thank you very much indeed.
All right, see you.
Yeah. Which server? We're going to be on the... so Motion Arts, you got to kind of follow along. You'll
Ground, Firefly 505. Request IFR clearance to Cork.
Firefly 505, Just to confirm, information Victor is current.
Information Victor, yeah.
Firefly 505, you are cleared to Cork. Curram 3 Alpha departure, runway 06. Stop climb, flight level 9 squawk 6261.
Cleared for Cork. Firefly 505, cleared for Cork. Initial altitude 9,000 feet. Say again the runway, please.
Will be the Curram 3 Alpha departure, runway 06, squawk 6261.
Okay, correction. Firefly 505, cleared for Cork at runway 06 with the Curram 3 Alpha departure.
That's it.
Flight initial altitude at 9,000 feet. Squawk 6466.
And Firefly
Shannon Ground, Firefly 050.
Firefly 505, you're almost there. Squawk is 6261.
Correction, squawk 6261.
Firefly
505.
Firefly 505, read back correct. Okay, anyway, as I was saying, there's a script there for you to practice on. If you feel yourself getting stuck or you're just not sure, that's why we're doing this, lads. It's a bit of practice. Our goal here is to get you all comfortable and confident and proficient when it comes to doing this. So don't worry if, you know, you're listening to people and they're way ahead of you, or they could be miles behind you.
Shannon Ground, Firefly 003.
Firefly 003, Shannon Ground, pass your message.
Shannon Ground, Firefly 003, CJ4, ramp 25 Bravo, information Victor, request IFR clearance to Cork.
Firefly 003, cleared to Cork, Curram 3 Alpha departure, runway 06. Initial altitude 7,000 feet, squawk 6631.
Cleared to Cork on the Kilo 3 departure, runway 6, initial climb 7,000, squawk 6631, Firefly 003.
Firefly 003, read back correct. Nice. We're getting there, lads. How are we going for time? We're doing all right. We're nearly there. We're nearly there. So don't be afraid, as I said, lads. Get your clearance.
Ground, Firefly 206.
Firefly 206, Shannon Ground, pass message.
Shannon Ground, Firefly 206 is Cessna 172 at GA parking with information whiskey. Request IFR clearance to Cork.
See the way he's after copying? The information has changed on the ATIS. That's brilliant. And Firefly 206, you are cleared to Cork, Curram 3 Alpha departure, runway 06. Initial altitude 3,000 feet, squawk 6635.
Cleared to Cork via Curram 3 Alpha departure, runway 06, initial altitude 3,000 feet, squawk 6635, Firefly 206.
Firefly 206, read back correct. Now you'll notice because he's in a Cessna 172, I wasn't going to give him flight level 9 or 0, a much lower altitude. And your controller will see that.
Firefly 208.
Firefly 208, Shannon Ground, pass your message.
Shannon Ground, Firefly 208. Vision Jet, stand 28. Information Victor, request IFR clearance to Cork.
Firefly 208, just to confirm, current ATIS is whiskey. You are clear to Cork, Curram 3 Alpha departure, runway 06. Stop climb flight level 11. Squawk 6637.
Could you repeat, please?
Firefly 208, just to confirm, the current ATIS information is whiskey. You are cleared to Cork. Curram 3 Alpha departure, runway 06. Stop climb flight level 11. Squawk 6637.
Cleared to Cork on the Curram 3 Alpha departure, runway 06. Initial climb, flight level 11.
11011.
Squawk 6637.
Firefly 208, read back correct. Just to confirm, you have information whiskey on board. Can you confirm?
Information whiskey, thanks.
Firefly 208, read back correct. Cool.
Shannon Ground, Firefly 502.
Firefly 502, Shannon Ground, pass your message.
Shannon Ground, Firefly 502, Boeing 737 at stand 39 with information whiskey. Request IFR clearance to Cork.
Firefly 502, you are cleared to Cork. Curram 3 Alpha departure, runway 06. Stop climb 90, or flight level 90. Squawk 6639.
Cleared to Cork on the Cura 3 Alpha departure, runway 06, initial climb altitude 9,000 feet, squawk 6639. Quick techie question, I can hear everybody except you on here.
You can hear everyone except me. Jesus. Firefly 502, read back correct. I've no idea. You're probably hearing me on the stream more so than this. It could be my fault. I'm liable to press buttons.
Yeah, no, you're just really, really low volume, and I'm not sure if it's the YouTube stream or this. I get confused. But anyway, thank you.
I'm very quiet on Discord. Okay. Murphy's doing a great job. He's in a frenzy mode. Thank you, Inglewood. We're getting there. There's only a few left, I think. All right, lads, whenever you're ready, jump on. And once you get your clearance, jump out of the ground frequency, just so we know who's left, yeah? As Dougal said, there is a fantastic international community. When you think about it, from all over the world, lads, it's incredible. It's incredible.
Shannon Ground, Firefly 301.
Firefly 301, Shannon Ground, pass your message.
Shannon Ground, good afternoon. Firefly 301 is 737 at stand 34 with information whiskey, requesting clearance to Cork.
Your squawk button isn't working. Firefly 301, cleared to Cork, Curram 3 Alpha departure, runway 06. Stop climb flight level 90, squawk 6467.
Cleared to Cork via the Curram 3 Alpha, runway 06. Stop climb at flight level 90, squawk 6467. Firefly 301.
Firefly 301, your readback is correct. Sweet. But yeah, it's practice. Keep practicing this, lads. And don't, as I said, don't worry about
Good
the
afternoon, Shannon
phraseology.
Ground. This is Firefly Air 006 with you.
Oh, yes. Firefly 006, also with you. Pass your message.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Shannon Ground. Echo, good afternoon, Shannon Ground. This is Firefly 006. at the parking at the light aircraft with information whiskey. Request IFR clearance to Echo India Charlie Kilo.
Okay. Firefly 006, you are cleared to Cork, Curram 3 Alpha departure, runway 06. Initial altitude 3,000 feet, squawk 6651.
Clear to Cork via the Curro 3 Alpha, runway 06. Climb and maintain 3000, squawk 6651. Firefly Air 006.
And Firefly 006, read back correct. So here's one for you, lads.
Shannon ground Firefly the 002 is on Airbus at 320. Stand 5 information whiskey. Request IFR to Cork.
Was that 002? Last aircraft calling, just to confirm, Firefly 002?
Yes, the Firefly 002.
Firefly 002, Shannon ground. You are cleared to Cork, Curram 3 Alpha departure, runway 06. Stop climb, flight level 900, squawk 6412.
Could you say again, squawk?
Squawk 62. Sorry, my mistake. Squawk 6412.
Clear to Cork Airport as Curram 3 Alpha, runway 06. Climb initial 5,000 feet. Squawk 6412.
And just to confirm, stop climb, flight level 900.
Stop climbing. Could you repeat it? Climb.
Yeah, stop climb will be flight level 900. I could be low on the volume, that's why it could be hard to hear me.
Stop climbing 900 and squawk 6412.
Firefly 002, read back correct. So if I'm low on your Discord, just you can increase my volume and add it up. Anyway, what I'm saying is, don't get too hungover on the exact
Shannon ground,
wording.
Firefly 333.
Firefly 333, Shannon ground, pass your message.
Shannon ground, Firefly 333. Cessna 172 at stand 31. Information whiskey aboard requesting IFR clearance to Cork.
And Firefly 333, you are clear to Cork, Curram 3 Alpha departure, runway 06. Initial altitude 3,000 feet, squawk 6162.
Firefly 333 cleared Curram 3 Alpha, runway 06.
Okay, we'll sort you out there
Initial
now in a second.
altitude 3,000 feet, squawk 6162.
And Firefly 333, read back correct. So Gabe is trying to get the fuel endurance.
Shannon ground. This is Firefly 506, A320 at Shannon stand 32 with information whiskey, requesting IFR clearance to Cork, Firefly 506.
Firefly 506, Shannon ground. You are cleared to Cork, Curram 3 Alpha departure, runway 06. Stop climb, flight level 900, squawk 6633.
Firefly 506, clear to Cork, departure Curram 3A, runway 6, step climb, flight level 90, squawking 6633, Firefly 506.
Firefly 506, read back correct. Should have said 06.
Firefly 001, stand 37, request push and start.
Firefly 001, clear to push and start, facing north. There's a
Clear
curveball.
push and start, facing north, Firefly 001.
Jumping ahead. Right, who else is there for clearance? Don't worry about the push and start. We'll do that next week, lads. This is purely to get the initial clearance done. Right, and as I was saying, we
Shannon ground, Firefly 602.
Firefly 602, Shannon ground, pass your message.
Shannon ground, Firefly 602, stand 34, information whiskey, request IFR clearance to Cork.
Firefly 602, clear to Cork via Curram 3 Alpha departure, runway 06. Stop climb, flight level 9 squawk 6261.
Could you repeat squawk for Firefly 602?
Squawk is 6261. 6261.
Clear to the Cork on Curra 3 departure, runway 06, initial climbs 9,000, squawk 6261. Firefly 602.
Firefly 602, read back correct. So what was I saying? The phraseology and the wording, we'll focus on that for next week. This is purely break the mic fright. Also, a lot of the calls, there's an extra step being done. You wouldn't necessarily call up ground, you know, Shannon ground, Firefly 235, and then they call you back. Yeah, what you want? We're just adding that extra step in just for this lesson. So if you're sitting there going, they're doing it wrong, don't worry. I mean, you got to start somewhere, right? So don't worry about it. Also, Gabe, your endurance time, that's how much fuel you have on board. It'll say block. Have a look at the manual. It'll show you where the fuel is. Go to weight and balance on the ground school document. It points you to where your block time is on your fuel. If you want to have a look at it, yeah? Right, who's next? Someone be next. We're getting there, lads. You're doing very well. We're doing very well. We still got a couple of people left. So remember, get your ATIS first and then jump over to ground once you have your flight plan planned or filed. Once it's filed, just hop on over there and you should be good to go, yeah? So who's there in the sim? We've the Jesus, we've loads of people. Loads of people, look. Which is pretty cool. And there's a plane on top of my head.
Firefly Air 201.
Doodle-doo-doo-doo, doodle-doo-doo-doo. Firefly 201, Shannon ground, pass your message.
How you doing, Shannon ground? Firefly Air 201 with information whiskey on board. Looking for IFR clearance out to Cork, please.
Firefly 201, you are clear to Cork, Curram 3 Alpha departure, runway 06. Initial altitude 5,000 feet, squawk 6432. The polar bear, that's okay. Thank you, Dougal. You're back in the will. I'd be screaming myself to sleep tonight. Firefly 2.
Curram 3 Alpha departure on runway 06. Climb to an altitude of 5,000 feet, squawking 6432 for Firefly 201.
And Firefly 201, read back correct. Yup.
Yup.
At the end of the day, it's all about learning. And it's, lads, it's more than okay to make a mistake.
Air 205.
Firefly 205, Shannon ground, pass your message.
Bit of a time lag there, sorry.
Make sure you're on Discord audio, yeah? Just to echo Dougal and others, well done to Rambog Gibbo. Thank you, Naughty. Hey, Viper Strike, good to see you. We're nearly there. Firefly 205, Shannon ground. We had him, then we lost him. So you get the idea, right? What you're looking at here on my screen, this is pretty much what a controller sees. They'll have a lot more fancier stuff. But basically, this is what they're getting. They can see us not as we see ourselves in the sim. And this is an important thing to realize. Okay, they might see us at times, but when they're controlling us, they cannot see what we're looking at here. They can't see the liveries and all that sort of jazz. They're controlling us by using this scope. That's why the importance of communication and accurate communication. That's what we look like. We're little dots on a little scope. And this is the ground radar. I mean, if we jump to friggin' tower, anyone who's airborne, like this guy over here, look. They're flying on their merry way. That's what they're looking at on the scope. Now, bearing in mind, this isn't Vatsim. We're mimicking a type of Vatsim. We're using Microsoft's servers for this. Right? Ah, Hemmingbird, thank you very much. I thought Muse was saying it. Muse would never say anything like that. Brilliant. Right, lads, who's next for a clearance? Call when ready. We have a few left, so we'll get through you quickly as possible. Don't be shy. Just jump onto it. Make a mistake, you make a mistake. We'll learn from it. I'll point out.
Firefly 405.
Firefly 405, Shannon Ground, pass your message.
Firefly 405, TBM 900 at Shannon General Aviation, requesting clearance to Cork with information whiskey.
Firefly 405, cleared to Cork. Curram 3 Alpha departure, runway 06. Initial altitude 5,000 feet. Squawk 6461.
Cleared to Cork via the Curram 3 Alpha, runway 06. Initial altitude 5,000 feet. Squawk 6461.
And Firefly 405, correction, initial altitude 6,000 feet. Here's a curveball. Wait, could you hear me? And Firefly 405, correction, initial altitude 6,000 feet.
Initial altitude 6,000 feet, Firefly 405.
And Firefly 405, your readback is correct. Nice. Also, if you have a look at this screen, if someone starts moving and we haven't given them any permission to move, the controller can see this by way of an alert, right? So the controller is watching. Like if I see someone move here and I haven't cleared them for a push and start or a taxi or otherwise, it starts flashing on my screen. See this one over here? Now it says Firefly 004. It's complaining that it's moving. This guy hasn't got clearance. Now we know that's the sim with a little kind of a multiplayer thing. It's not necessarily the pilot on this system. I'm not bashing me telly. But in the
Shannon
real world,
Ground, this is Firefly 807. Good evening.
Firefly 807, Shannon Ground, good evening. Pass your message.
Shannon Ground, Firefly 807, 8320, stand 24, information whiskey, requesting IFR clearance to Cork.
Firefly 807, you are cleared to Cork. Curram 3 Alpha departure, runway 06. Stop climb flight level 900, squawk 6461.
Clear to Cork on the Curran 3 Alpha departure, runway 60, initial climb 9,000, squawk 6461. Firefly Air 807.
You are so close. It's runway 06, just to confirm. You were so close. Runway 06.
Thank you for the correction, sir. 06. Good evening.
Firefly 807, your readback is correct. Sweet. Okay, we're nearly there. There's only a handful left. Right, quick. Keep jumping on.
Shannon Ground, Firefly 203.
Firefly 203, Shannon Ground, pass your message.
Shannon Ground Firefly 203 is a Vision jet at stand 27 with information whiskey. Request IFR clearance to Cork.
Firefly 203, you are cleared to Cork, Curram 3 Alpha departure, runway 06. Initial altitude 7,000 feet, squawk 6420. Now, I should have said flight level 70.
Clear to Cork on
grand.
the Kura 3 Alpha departure, runway 06, stop climb 7,000 feet, squawk 6420, Firefly 203.
Firefly 203, read back correct. Yeah, we're getting there. We're getting there. Hey, Renoir, good to see you, man. Next!
Shannon Ground, Firefly 207.
Firefly 207, Shannon Ground, pass your message.
Firefly 207, Diamond DA62 at the GA parking. Request IFR clearance to Cork.
Firefly 207, cleared to Cork, Curram 3 Alpha departure, runway 06. Initial altitude 5,000 feet, squawk 6413.
Firefly 207. I've lost it. Can you repeat?
Firefly 207, you are cleared to Cork, Curram 3 Alpha departure, runway 06. Initial altitude 5,000 feet, squawk 6413.
Firefly 207, cleared Cur 3A. Runway 06. Initial altitude 5,000 feet. 6. Can you repeat the squawk code, please?
Squawk is 6413.
Squawk 6413 207.
Firefly 207, read back correct.
Firefly, Shannon Ground, Firefly 004, requesting IFR clearance to Cork with information whiskey.
Firefly 004, Shannon Ground, you are cleared to Cork, Curram 3 Alpha departure, runway 06. Initial altitude 5,000 feet, squawk 6461.
Clear to Cork via Curram 3, initial altitude, runway 06, initial altitude 050. Squawk is 6464. Firefly 004.
Firefly 004, correction. Curram 3 Alpha departure, squawk 6461.
Curram 3 Alpha departure, squawk is 6461. Firefly 004.
And Firefly 004, read back correct. You get the gist of it, yeah?
Shannon Ground, good evening, Firefly 507.
There was two lads talking together there. Do you hear that? 507, we'll talk to him first. Firefly 507, Shannon Ground, pass your message.
Shannon Ground, Firefly 507, TBM 900 at the light aviation parking. We have information whiskey on board and requesting IFR clearance to Cork.
Firefly 507, cleared to Cork, Curram 3 Alpha departure, runway 06. Initial altitude 5,000 feet, squawk 6421.
We're clear to Cork via the Curram 3 Alpha departure, expecting runway 06, initial climb 5,000 feet, and squawk 6421. Was that correct for Firefly 507?
Firefly 507, read back correct. So there's going to be some do's and don'ts when it comes to your phraseology.
Firefly 205, requesting IFR clearance to Cork at stand 39.
Firefly 205, cleared to Cork, Curram 3 Alpha departure, runway 06. initial climb, sorry, initial altitude 5,000 feet, squawk 6464. I didn't make life easy on him there.
Ground cleared to Cork via the Curram 3 Alpha, runway 06, flight level 5000, and squawk 6464.
Correction, squawk 6440.
Shannon Ground, Firefly Air 205, 6460.
Squawk 6440.
Shannon Ground, Old Age.
It's okay. I could have said 6464. I probably forgot. We'll go with 6464, and your readback is correct.
Good day, Shannon Ground. This is Firefly Air 605.
Firefly 605, Shannon Ground, pass your message.
Firefly 605. Let me see. 737. Unknown stand because it doesn't say on the chart. Information Whiskey, request IFR clearance to Cork. Firefly 605.
Firefly 605, cleared to Cork. Curram 3 Alpha departure, runway 06. Stop climb, flight level 90. Squawk 6620.
Firefly Air 605. SID is Curram 3 Alpha. Runway 06, altitude 90, squawk 6628, Firefly Air 605.
And Firefly 605, squawk 6620.
Firefly 605, squawk 6620.
Firefly 605, read back correct. Very good, lads, very good. I think we've only one or two left. Lads, you're doing brilliant. I'm very proud of you so far. And don't worry, we can spend more time just doing this, right? If you're stuck on this initial part, you know. Yeah, Honda Jet, don't worry too much about the phraseology just yet. I mean, in Ireland, for example, your transition level transition altitude, sorry, it's 5,000 feet. It's on the chart. So anything above that, you refer to it then as your flight level. But I'm not too worried about focusing on the little things just yet. As an initial, you know, getting things started off, breaking that mic right, just get talking to ATC. This is a huge step a lot of people are making. Do you know what I mean? We will focus more. Again, lads, as I've said to you, there is a script here. This is all available online. But like, you know, if you're stuck with stuff, read the script.
Okay. I'm gonna try mine.
Give it a go, give it a go. Like for example here, right? Shannon Ground, I'm putting in an initial call before you need to, just to kind of break the ice, right? So
Shannon Ground, Firefly Ace 406.
Who was that? Last aircraft calling, say again. Hey Wiley, good to see you. Hey Drummer, good to see you. Can we start over? You got it.
Shannon Ground, Firefly Air 406.
Firefly 406, Shannon Ground, pass your message.
Hello there.
Shannon Ground, Firefly Ace 406, TBM 9, stand 6. Information B, request IFR clearance to call.
Just to confirm, information Whiskey is current. Firefly 406, you are cleared to Cork. Curram 3 Alpha departure, runway 06. Initial altitude 5,000 feet. Squawk 6612.
Cleared to Cork on the
Corum 3 Alpha.
Cleared to Cork on the Kilo Umbrella RA38 departure, runway 06. Initial climb altitude 5,000 feet, squawk 6612. Firefly A 406.
And Firefly 406, readback correct. It's good, lads. You're getting there. As I said, we'll hunker down on the phraseology. So it's not Firefly Air. It's just simply Firefly and your code. If it's a number, don't refer to a number as O. It's numerical. 0, 9er. You know what I mean? When you're reading out the SID, Corum 3 Alpha, not Cura 3A.
Okay,
Corum
thank
3
you.
Alpha. Well done, well done. Altitudes are important. If the controller is telling you initial altitude 5,000 feet, don't call back a flight level, or don't say, 050. Do you know what I mean? Just repeat back what the controller is saying. Your squawk number as well. Might could be a little bit low on Discord, so I'm not overly worried. But just the main things you need to kind of keep a grasp on. You're getting your clearance, right? How are we looking there? We're looking good. I'll show you this on the screen. Look, you're getting your clearance. You'll see it here. Go back to your craft. Look, remember craft, clearance, your route, altitude, frequency if there is one, transponder. Yeah, it's actually 3 and 5, but 3, 5. Yeah. So this is how we do it, right? Shannon Ground, Firefly 235. Airbus A320, stand 30, information whiskey, request IFR clearance to Cork. If you ever need to learn to drive a car, and anyone who's done their actual driving test, we start off, you don't move your hands from the 10 to 2 position, or quarter to 3, whatever it is. It's only after you get your license, now you're more comfortable, now you'll put the arm up in the armrest and go driving with one hand, smoking a fag and drinking. That's what you do after the fact. Try not to put more communication in this script than what's absolutely required. You will hear other controllers, we'll see you, or good morning, great to see you. These are all niceties to have, but they're outside the remit of what we're trying to learn. It's okay if you use them, you're not going to get in trouble, but keep the information concise. Don't say, sure, how are you now, Dublin Tower? You're only looking like a magic. They don't need to know that. Focus on the accurate information that you need to pass. Once you get confident and comfortable using it, by all means, Shannon Ground, good morning. Give them a bit of attitude, give them a bit of a hello-ness. It's nice. We're people, right? We're people, right? But definitely for learning, when we're doing the course, just stick to the script and read over this, lads. Have a look over the next week, over this lesson. Read over the script, pilot what the pilot says, Shannon Ground, Firefly 235, 737, a stand 30, information Bravo, request IFR clearance to Cork. That's it. Now, if I wanted to, I could say, Shannon Ground, good morning. This is Firefly Air 235, a Boeing 737. I'm over here at stand 30 and I have information Bravo on board. I'd like to pick up my clearance to Cork. You're convoluting the whole thing. And then you've other people then who jump on and say, Shannon approach, Firefly 235 with you, flight level 150. What does with you mean? And also with you. Thanks be to God. You don't need to say that. These are things that creep in. Now, I don't care if you use it or not, but stick to the script because you're getting the accurate information. Must know, should know, and could know. This is the must know. The must know. If you focus on that, it really, really does make things easier. Because you don't need to worry about the pleasantries or, do I say with you? Do I say without you? Quick, someone turn on you too. You don't need to do any of that stuff. Stick to the script. Keep it clear. Keep it concise. This course, we're all learning. There's different levels where people are at. I can already tell that difference on the radios tonight. Some people are at the entry level. Some people, this is a walk in the park to them. But that's okay. The whole idea is we're going to level the standards, bring people up or bring them back down a bit. We're going to move forward at the same pace here. There could be habits you've picked up. There could be that, overconfidence. You'll spend your time saying good morning and hey, good to see you and whatever else. And yet they're not giving you your accurate information. They forgot something or their phraseology is incorrect. They could be saying, 004 or 202. You know what I mean? You want to keep it accurate. And if, the best way to keep it accurate, stick to the script. Just read over it a few times. Even write it out. You know what I mean? So where are we at? I think we're good. So I shall jump back into the ATC lounge. Hello. How are you, Gibbo?
Yeah, I have no idea what the issue is.
What's going on, Chief?
I forgot to press me push to talk. I'm just jumping in. How are you getting on, lads? You did very well.
Yeah, they really did, didn't they? Everybody did so well, and major compliments to you and Rambog, and yeah, looking forward to next week already to build on top of this.
Yeah,
Step one, tick.
Step one, tick. We had I can get a count here somewhere, but there was a lot of clearances.
Yeah, you did well. I was trying to listen in, but no, it worked out very well, and everybody got through. So we had one technical problem with Fred, unfortunately, that there's live troubleshooting going on right now.
Okay. All right, okay.
But we'll get to the bottom of it. Otherwise, it went really well.
Awesome sauce.
Yeah, so including me and Gibbo, we did 21 clearances.
21 clearances.
At least. There could be some people that are disconnected and disappeared from the list, but at least 21.
That's absolutely incredible. It's awesome. And it goes without saying, if anyone missed their chance tonight, if you just, you weren't able to, you didn't have the time or whatever, let us know on Discord in these, in the channels for ATC. And we can jump on some other night. It doesn't have to be Monday night. And if we want, a refresh of any lesson that we've done, well, let us know and we'll see what we can do. It's talking to Rambog and to Gibbo, our goal here is to get everyone over the line. And when we have time, we have time. It's as simple as that. When we don't, we won't. But if anyone is stuck or if they need an extra bit of a help, just let us know in the Discord chat and we'll get you sorted. So Rambog and Gibbo, lads, thanks a million. It just wouldn't be happening without you, lads.
Thank you.
Pleasure. Cool. No worries. Murph, before you end the stream, you might give folks a quick flavour of what to expect, whet some appetites for next week, if you can.
I will indeed.
All right, take care.
See ya! Very good. Right, so for next week now, lads.
The car in swinger, baby!
Max Lightweight just donated £20 or €20. Thank you very, very much indeed. You absolute legend, sir. That's very, very kind of you, and I really do appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you very much indeed. So, yes, next week, guys, we're going to be moving on to lesson number 2. And, well, if it means that, if you're stuck anywhere, as I said, and you want to do a little bit more, well, hang on now, we find this. What version am I on next week? I'll upload this next week, so just don't worry about it for the moment, okay? So next week is going to be lesson 2. And I just need to scroll down to it. Wait and see this. For next week on our lesson, we're going to focus on a departure over to Unicom. All right, so to talk through it, I'll give you a quick snippet. Our second IFR lesson, we're going to be using our ATC voice activity, just as we did tonight. The objective is to communicate to ATC whilst we're at Shannon, and then once we depart... there's all things happening. White League, thank you very much for the bits. Thank you very, very much indeed. Drummer says, assume you're only focusing on EU. No, we will be looking at FAA stuff later on. In this manual, I have shared some of the differences between the US and Europe. For the initial few lessons, we're flying in Europe under ICAO, because that's where most of the scripting and phraseology is. However, we do have US-based controllers, and we'll be looking at some of those things as well. CTAF, yeah. Well, they're still testing it, Drumma, aren't they? But anyway, so our IFR Lesson 2, Departure to Unicom. If you were in the US, Vatsim are quite rightfully, as Drumma says, well, they're trialing CTAF. But yeah, we'll see if that's up and running. We'll definitely give it a go. But Unicom is still the active one in Europe. So we're going to depart Shannon, then we're going to be told to jump over to Unicom. The lesson for next week will be broken down into 4 parts, right? We'll do our flight planning, exactly from start to finish, what we did tonight. Then we go to filing our flight plan. Then we'll have the flight, we review it, and then we move on. So we go through what we're going to do. All the information is here. All the radio calls are here. And anything that's in red, well, that's what you guys are going to be putting in your information, yeah? So your call sign, your aircraft type, your stand, the information, and where you're going to get your clearance. So the clearance part is a full revision of what we've done tonight. Then we're going to move on to our push and startup. And we will have a look back over the conditional clearances, just in case there's a curveball thrown in. After we get our push and start, it's time to get a taxi clearance. Next week, we're really going to focus on the importance of charts, right? So our taxi clearance, then we'll get our takeoff clearance. And then once we take off, we get our departure, and then we'll be handed over to Unicom. So that's next week. There's quite a lot in that, but don't worry about it too much. I'll give you a full run-through demonstration. This is what we're doing. The clearance that we've practiced tonight, if anyone needs additional help during the week, let yourself know, or let it be known, over on Discord. All right. As we can see it in here, this is our Discord. If we go to the ATC general chat, just let us know what's happening. Talk to us, and we'll try and get something up and running for you during the week. But Max Lightweight, thank you very much indeed for the donation there. And yeah, for everyone, like, this is the thing, you know, the way I say it's only us. Well, the reality is, if you're on Vatsim, you might have 10 or 20 people. You guys managed to do that in front of well over 100 people. Well over 100 people. I mean, we're on Twitch and YouTube. Well done. And you can only build from here, right? If anyone feels still, I need to learn more, there's plenty of time. We're going to learn a lot more. All right. So that's kind of where we're at now. A huge thanks to Gibbo and to Rambog for all the help setting this up. And again, of course, to the Limbics for helping me with the document, to Adam helping me with all the ATC phraseology, and for all of you guys. Thank you so very, very much indeed. Lesson 1, it's a lot to take in. Everything is now live on the website.
Hello there.
I forgot about the giveaway. I'll announce the winner here now in a second. Everything is live on the website. So you can absolutely go in and have a look at this course document. You can go in and have a look at the registrations. The checklists are there, right? Everything is now available. Have a read through our notums as well, all right? Everything is there for us. Now, let me see. The winner of our Navigraph giveaway from the registration page is Iceman AMD. Iceman AMD has won himself a 12-month subscription to Navigraph, with thanks to Navigraph. So well done. Congratulations to Iceman AMD. If you can drop me a DM on Discord, if you're on, you should be on Discord. Drop me a DM and we'll get that prize arranged for you. Congratulations. I want to thank everyone for taking part in these lessons. Well done, guys. Brilliant. And maybe you're on the fence. Well, it's never too late to join in our course. I will be building revision blocks into this as well, just to make sure we don't move too far ahead. And for everyone maybe not taking part in the practical, but they're here in the background, they're here in the chat, they're helping out, they're offering advice and the whole lot. Lads, I really, really do appreciate it. Thank you very, very much indeed. It's a massive undertaking. I am not an ATC controller in any way, shape or form. I just know it can be a lot of fun flying online. And I'm going to teach you what I know. And if that helps, happy day. Happy day, right? So let's see how we go for next week. I'm back to you on Wednesday for this week's Flight Sim News. And we have a stream of a group flight coming up on Friday night to celebrate St. Patrick's Day, because that's what we do. So thank you all so very, very much indeed. Have a pleasant evening, and we will see you on Wednesday for the Flight Sim News. Oh, I get to check out a new plane as well, I think. Keep your eye on Discord. It'll be grand. Good luck to you. Oh. didn't just blow him off to another country, the poor devil. He had absolutely, like, he'd zero. Oh no, oh god, oh dear. It's like a friggin' Olympic somersault. What was that, Dwayne?